Chapter 837. The face had facial features and its eyes were closed. It was different from ordinary stone mask. The face on the stone had a sense of liveliness that a mask didn't have. It was as though it could close its eyes and come alive at any moment. Everyone looked warily at the face on the stone. On the stone platform beside them, a member of the Zhang family suddenly jumped down. This was too unexpected. No one had expected it, nor did they have the time to react. By the time they realized it, the person had already jumped from the platform to the ground. The ground was covered in fiend stones. After the person landed on the ground, the shoes on his feet strangely turned into fiend stones. His calves also rapidly turned into fiend stones. In just 2 seconds, his calves had turned into fiend stones. Everything happened too quickly. Only Zhang Chuanqiu reacted. He used his hand as a saber and slashed out a saber beam, severing the petrified legs of the human fiend. He reached out and pulled him back to the stone platform. The person seemed to snap to his senses as he screamed tragically. His legs kept bleeding. "Stop his bleeding and treat his injuries," Zhang Chuanqiu instructed as he stared at the legs that had been completely petrified. The legs stood on the ground, connected with the fiend's stones as though they had become a part of them. It was so strange that it made one's scalp tingle. Although Zhou wanted to ask what was going on, it was clearly not the time to ask. He used Truth Listener to scan the fiend tomb and the fiend stones, but he didn't discover anything abnormal. He only felt that essence energy was flowing in the fiend stones, but there was nothing special about them. "Zhou, go back first. The situation in the fiend tomb has changed. It's too dangerous. Don't let any accidents happen," Zhang Chuanqiu said to Zhou. Although Zhou really wanted to take a picture of the tiny palm symbol of the fiend tomb, it was impossible for him to request to take a picture in such a situation. All he could do was listen to Zhang Chuanqiu and leave first. The trouble with the fiend tomb looked a little huge. When the Zhang family left with Zhou, he could see the Zhang family constantly rushing towards the fiend tomb, presumably to provide reinforcements. Zhou didn't know what was going on with the fiend tomb, so he couldn't help even if he wanted to. When he returned to Celestial Master Manor, Zhou kept thinking about the fiend tomb. He didn't know what that strange face was. It looked like a part of a fiend stone or some dimensional creature. Zhou couldn't be sure. And this seemed to be just the beginning of the nightmare. In the next few days, it was obvious that the entire Zhang family was in a state of tension. People kept leaving the treasury preceptor, most likely rushing to the fiend tomb. "Yuji, how's the situation with the fiend tomb?" Zhou couldn't help but ask when he saw Zhang Yuji again. "The situation is very bad. Since the day before yesterday, there have been people attempting to jump into the fiend tomb every day. Although they were all saved in the end, this situation is becoming more and more frequent. We can't find the reason, nor can we ask anything. If they couldn't find the reason, they would be in big trouble." "Have you tried shattering the face on the fiend stone?" Zhou asked. "It's useless. It will grow back even if it's shattered. Furthermore, after the fiend stone shatters, stone faces will grow in other places. Now, there are 7 stone faces in the fiend tomb." Zhou knew that the Zhang family was really in trouble this time. If he couldn't resolve it, people would constantly want to jump down. In the end, the entire Zhang family might be wiped out. "Can you tell me what's going on with the fiend tomb?" "If it's not convenient, forget it," Zhou asked. Zhang Yuji hesitated for a moment before whispering to Zhou, "I'll tell you about this, but don't tell anyone. Legend has it that our Zhang family's ancestor was buried in a fengshui treasure cave. With the help of the fengshui treasure cave, we produced a celestial master. Actually, that's not the case. Our Zhang family found a fengshui tomb, but we didn't find it to bury ourselves inside, but to prevent the things inside from coming out." "What do you mean? Do you mean that someone was already buried there?" Zhou asked in puzzlement. "To be precise, it's not a person, but a ba," Zhang Yuji said. "Ba? Is it a type of zombie?" Zhouwen seemed to have heard of such a monster, but he didn't know much about it. He felt that it was related to zombies. Most people often confuse Ba with zombies. In fact, the two aren't the same thing. In myths, Ba is a goddess from the heavens. She descended to the mortal world to help the Yellow Emperor defeat Qiyu. However, because her divine powers were exhausted, she was unable to return to the heavens. Therefore, she could only sleep underground, waiting for the day she recovered her divine powers and returned to the heavens. Zhang Yuji paused for a moment before continuing. Back then, Ba descended to the mortal world to deal with the Count of Wind and Master of Rain. Even the Tempest seemed to be incinerated in front of Ba. Even the combined forces of the Count of Wind and Master of Rain were no match for Ba. From this, it can be seen how powerful her divine powers are. Ba hibernates underground. Once her divine powers recover, she wakes up from her slumber. Or perhaps someone disturbs her and causes her to wake up. Her divine powers will spread out, causing the land to be dry and barren for thousands of kilometers. Therefore, she's also known as Drought Ba. She's an extremely terrifying existence. Back then, my ancestor discovered that the sleeping Ba underground was about to awaken. That's why he stood guard there to prevent Ba from appearing. People mistakenly thought that he had found a feng shui treasure cave. All these years, our Zhang family has been guarding the fiend tomb to prevent Ba from coming out. However, with the arrival of the dimensional storms, the power in the fiend tomb is becoming stronger and stronger. Even we don't know how long our Zhang family can guard it. It's only a matter of time before we crack the seal. It existed in the world before the dimensional storms. Is there really a creature like Ba? Zhouwen was somewhat shocked. After the dimensional storms, it wasn't surprising for any creature to appear. However, before the dimensional storms, in ancient times, the Zhang family had already begun guarding Ba. This was truly surprising. I don't know if there really is a Ba, but there's definitely something unbelievable in the fiend tomb. Over the years, strange things have frequently happened in the fiend tomb. If not for my Zhang family's desperate defense, I'm afraid the area around Mount Dragon Tiger would have long been plunged into misery and suffering, Zhang Yuji said. With that said, Zhang Yuji stood up and prepared to leave. I have to go out for the next few days. When I'm not in Celestial Master manner, don't walk around casually to prevent others from misunderstanding. Where are you going? Zhouwen was puzzled as to why Zhang Yuji was going out at this time. The fiend tomb was already extremely dangerous. Logically speaking, Zhang Yuji should have stayed in Celestial Master manner to help. I want to kill dimensional creatures with my brothers, Zhang Yuji said. Zhouwen recalled the matter regarding Zhang Yuji's life providence and said to her, "Actually, I have a golden apple that can change a person's life providence without any side effects. Do you want to give it a try?" Zhang Yuji was first delighted, but she shook her head and said, "There's no need. With how useless I am, this is all I can do to help everyone now." Chapter 838. Zhouwen fell silent. Zhang Yuji was lucky, but at the same time, she was unlucky. Her abilities and pain coexisted. Zhouwen could understand Zhang Yuji's feelings. She wasn't willing to become best friends with dimensional creatures before killing them. But now that the Zhang family was in such a difficult situation, they might even be destroyed. What she was doing might be saving the lives of all the family members of the Zhang family. Every family has its difficulties. It's not easy for a large family like the Zhang family either. Zhouwen sighed inwardly. After Zhang Yuji left, Zhouwen didn't continue staying at Celestial Master Manor. He went to Dragon Tiger Town and found an inn to stay. On the one hand, he didn't want to trouble the Zhang family again. On the other hand, it was convenient for Lu Yun to contact him when he arrived. That afternoon, Demonic Neonate completed her evolution and became at the epic stage. Her various skills didn't change, but her stats increased to 41 points. Zhouwen could only continue looking forward to what surprises the Wheel of Destiny would bring after she returned to the mythical stage. Demonic Neonate's return made Zhou feel a lot more at ease. Although she was only at the epic stage, her combat strength was a huge help to Zhou. Just as Zhou was feeling gratified that Demonic Neonate had completed her evolution, Banana Jiao, who had yet to advance to the mythical stage, successfully advanced to the mythical stage on the same day. Zhou was overjoyed. He had been waiting for Banana Fairy for too long. Seeing Banana Fairy break out of the egg and transform into a young fairy dressed in green muslin, Zhou eagerly looked at her stats. Banana Fairy, Mythical, Evolvable, Birth Providence, Extreme Een Spirit Root Life Soul, Divine Wind Immortal Wheel of Fortune, First Wind of the Three Realms, Een Strength, 81 Speed, 81 Constitution, 81 Essence Energy, 81 Innate Skill, Lunar Wind. Companion Form, Fan. There weren't many changes to his other skills. However, his basic attributes had increased to 81 points of a top-notch mythical creature. The additional Wheel of Destiny was actually called the Three Realms Number 1 Wind. The name was domineering, but he didn't know how effective it was. Why is there a Een character behind the Wheel of Destiny? Could it be that there's a Yang character in the Three Realms Best Wind? Zhou found it odd. Summoning Banana Fairy in reality, he saw an elegant girl dressed in green with a veil. She looked to be about 14 or 15 years old. Her snow-white calves were bare as she sat on a banana leaf. At this moment, the banana leaf was much bigger than before. The young girl sat there, fluttering in the wind. She looked very uncomfortable. Although Zhou didn't care much about a companion beast's appearance, he was naturally in a good mood with such a beautiful and adorable companion beast by his side. He opened the game dungeon and entered the Metalwork Temple dungeon. He wanted to see how powerful Banana Fairy's Wheel of Destiny was. There were furnaces everywhere in the forging temple, and the temperature was quite high. Banana Fairy sat on the banana leaf and floated beside the blood-colored avatar. Under Zhou orders, she puffed up her cheeks and blew into the metalwork temple. Voila! A large number of fire elemental sprites and various dimensional creatures were blown away. Anything that could move was blown away. As for the huge furnaces, they were all extinguished. Like a hurricane, Zhou saw that the game's notification panel was flooded. News of various dimensional creatures dying kept popping up. Zhou quickly walked into the metalwork temple and realized that the temple behind him had also been extinguished. It was a mess. The metalwork temple that was originally filled with furnaces was now devoid of any flames. The temperature had returned to normal, and it no longer felt hot. What left Zhou depressed was that the dimensional creatures that had been blown to death by the Three Realms Best Wind had been blown to an unknown place. The dimensional crystals and companion eggs that dropped couldn't be found either. This is way too ferocious. As expected of the Three Realms Best Wind. Just as Zhou was feeling excited, he saw Banana Fairy look exhausted. Her primordial energy had been drained, and even the Three Realms Best Wind ability had entered cooldown. What a pity! If I could fan a few times consecutively, this thing would be better than a nuclear bomb, Zhou thought greedily. Even without the augmentation of the Wheel of Destiny, Banana Fairy's Grand Een Wind was considered a very powerful divine skill. Typical mythical creatures couldn't withstand a single blow from her. Even if they weren't blown away, they would be frozen into ice. Demonic Neonate and Banana Fairy's evolution completed, putting Zhou in a good mood. He grinded Pill Furnace Mountain again, but no mythical companion eggs dropped. Zhou went out for a walk that day. When he returned, he realized that Lu Yun was sitting in his room. He had no idea when he had arrived. Lu Yun didn't look good. There were dark circles under his eyes, and his mental state wasn't good. His hair was oily and messy. It looked like he hadn't washed his hair for half a month. The beard on his face had grown out and his clothes weren't clean. If it wasn't for his good looks and branded clothes, he would have become a beggar. "Where's your?" Zhou asked Lu Yun. "Your is fine. Don't worry. It's very easy to see her." Help me do something, Lu Yun said through gritted teeth. It hadn't been easy for him to come this far. Now, he could finally threaten Zhou. Do you want me to help you steal the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg? Zhou asked. That's right. Lu Yun nodded smugly and said, as long as you listen obediently, I'll naturally return Ye to you after the matter is done. Otherwise, there's no need to otherwise. If you like it, continue taking her with you, Zhou said. What? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill? Lu Yun was enraged. He had suffered so much just for this moment of joy. Who knew that Zhou would say such words? It infuriated him. If you dare kill her, go ahead, Zhou said indifferently. What do you mean? Do you think I don't dare? Lu Yun said angrily. Don't you think your journey has been very rough? Zhou asked. What has this got to do with you? Lu Yun's heart skipped a beat as he asked Zhou suspiciously. It has nothing to do with me, but think about it. When did you start being unlucky? Zhou said. You mean that all of this is Ye's doing? Lu Yun was immediately enraged. He had always believed that it was his problem, but he never expected the problem to be with a child. You know Wang Lu of the Wang family, right? Some people are born different. Ye is such a person, but she's different from Wang Lu. She won't bring you luck. Do you understand what I mean? Anyway, if you like it, continue taking her with you. It saves me the trouble, Zhou said. Lu Yun was dumbfounded. He never expected such a thing to happen. He naturally knew Wang Lu of the Wang family. He even knew Wang Chan, much less Wang Lu. However, he never expected Ye to be such a person. Chapter 839. This. Why don't I return her to you? Lu Yun felt a little weak. He originally didn't believe it, but thinking of his encounters along the way, Lu Yun felt that he had to believe it. I've been very busy recently and don't have time to take care of the child. Why don't you help me take care of her for a few more days? We'll talk about it when I return to Luoyang, Zhou said with a smile. Take care of her, my ass, Lu Yun said gloomily. Eldest senior brother, don't be anxious. At most I'll pay you. How about an epic companion egg a day? With this price, it won't be a problem to find a female celebrity to be a nanny. It's a bargain for you. What do you think? Zhou said. Lu Yun slammed the table and said righteously, What do you think I, Lu Yun, am? I'm the great godly thief, Lu Yun. Am I someone who takes care of children? Ignoring the fact that you give me an epic companion egg a day, even if you give me a mythical companion egg a day, I won't do it. Just you wait. I'll send her back to you now. If you want to take care of her yourself. Eldest senior brother, this isn't appropriate, right? Look at how you brought her all the way here and are returning her to me just like that. Aren't you making a loss? I suggest you take care of her for a few more days, Zhou said. As if I'd believe you. You are very evil. Wouldn't I be at a disadvantage if I took her along? Lu Yun said. Are you really going to return her to me? Zhou asked. Of course. I, Lu Yun, have always been a man of my word, Lu Yun said through gritted teeth. All right, but you've been taking care of Ye for so many days. She must have lost weight from your hunger. You have to give me some nutrition fees and let me buy her some delicious supplements, right? Zhou extended his hand in front of Lu Yun. Lu Yun was dumbfounded. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone so shameless. You still want to ask me for nutrition fees? Lu Yun was extremely angry and aggrieved. His hands were trembling. I'm the one who lost weight from hunger, all right? F***K. I've been vomiting on everything I ate and drank along the way. Not only did I not eat anything, I was either crying or laughing all day. In the middle of the night, I laughed so hard that the entire hotel thought there was a ghost. Do you think it was King easy for me? Let me tell you, that kid is very good at eating and drinking. Do you know that I'm about to die? You're asking me for nutrition fees? Eldest senior brother, it's meaningless for you to act so shamelessly. You were the one who captured her. You make it sound like Ye captured you. Aren't you ashamed? Zhou was finally completely relieved. He held back his laughter and said, It's fine if you don't want to give it to me. Anyway, I plan on staying at Celestial Master Manor for a few days. If you have the ability, send Ye to Celestial Master Manor. If you don't want it, I'll kill her, Lu Yun said ruthlessly. You dare to kill such a person? As long as you aren't afraid of being unlucky for the rest of your life, go ahead, Zhou said as he spread out his hands. Lu Yun thought back to the days he had spent over the past few days and how he would have to spend the rest of his life so quickly. He immediately shivered. Suddenly, a smile appeared on Lu Yun's angry face. Little junior brother, we're all brothers. Why are you treating me like an outsider? Just let me know what my niece likes to eat, and I'll buy it for her. Whatever she wants to eat, I'll buy it for her. That's how an eldest senior brother should be. Zhou gave him a thumbs up. By the way, eldest senior brother, how did you use the sky-stealing sun-shifting art to transfer a companion beast to someone else? I've studied it for a long time, but I can't figure out how to use it. Little junior brother, if you want to learn, I'll definitely teach you. However, you have to condense a life soul with the sky-stealing sun-shifting art first. Lu Yun thought to himself, it's not like you mainly cultivate the sky-stealing sun-shifting art. It would be a wonder if you can condense a life soul. The sky-stealing sun-shifting art's life soul has already been condensed. Tell me, how do you use it? Zhou said. Lu Yun's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief, What? Your sky-stealing sun-shifting art has condensed a life soul? I just condensed it not long ago. It's too difficult to cultivate. It's still a primordial body, Zhou said. Lu Yun wanted to slap Zhou in the face and smash his detestable face, but after some thought, he didn't dare do so. Little junior brother, this isn't a joke. If you haven't condensed the sky-stealing sun-shifting art life soul, using my method will be fatal. Lu Yun still found it unbelievable. What's the name of your life soul? Zhou asked Lu Yun. There's no harm in telling you. My life soul's name is Astral Soul. It means the soul of the stars in the heavens, Lu Yun said as he summoned a speck of starlight. The starlight flowed as though it was condensing thousands of stars. My life soul isn't as famous as your name. It's called Fine Dust, but it should be similar. Zhou summoned his Fine Dust life soul. When Lu Yun saw Zhou's Fine Dust, he was immediately stunned. Although his life soul was different and his abilities might be different, he could sense that it was without a doubt a life soul condensed by the sky-stealing sun-shifting art. There was no mistake. Little junior brother, will there be any problems with dual cultivating essence energy arts? Lu Yun gulped and asked. Of course not. Are you going to tell me your method? If not, I'm going to Celestial Master Manor, Zhou said. Don't be anxious. This method is a little complicated, but since you already have the sky-stealing sun-shifting art life soul, it shouldn't be difficult for you to learn it. Lu Yun explained his method to Zhou. Zhou was originally worried that his life soul was different from Lu Yun's, so his abilities wouldn't be completely the same. He might not be able to learn Lu Yun's method. However, after hearing it, he realized that his worries were unnecessary. He could also use Lu Yun's method. In fact, he didn't rely on the ability of his life soul, but the ability of the sky-stealing sun-shifting art itself. Soon, Zhou grasped Lu Yun's method. He was just short of putting it into practice. Little senior brother, practice first. I'll fetch our niece. With that said, Lu Yun ran off, afraid that Zhou would ask him for something else. He had always been someone who refused to suffer losses, but he suffered every time he met Zhou. Now, he only wanted to stay as far away from Zhou as possible. Zhou didn't really want anything from Lu Yun, so he didn't stop him. After a while, an employee knocked on Zhou's door and said that someone was looking for him. Zhou went out to take a look and saw Yer standing outside, but he didn't see Lu Yun. He was definitely afraid that Zhou would extort him again, so he didn't even dare show his face before leaving. Did you suffer along the way? Zhou asked as he stroked Yer's head. Yer shook her head before taking off the necklace around her neck and handing it to Zhou. Zhou was slightly taken aback. He knew that this was the necklace Yer had obtained from Lu Yun, but he didn't understand why Yer was handing it to him. Do you want me to help you put it away? Zhou asked as he took the necklace. Yer shook her head again and pointed at the gem on the necklace. It looked like there was something wrong with the gem on the necklace. Zhou checked the gem on the necklace in puzzlement. After looking at it carefully for a while, he really saw a problem. Chapter 840. The necklace embedded with rubies couldn't be seen with the naked eye, but when Zhou activated the Supreme Hell King Life Soul, he realized that there was a blood-colored shadow in the largest ruby pendant in the middle. It looked like a spider. What's this? A spirit body? Zhou asked Yer. Gu, Yer said one word. This is also a gu? Zhou was somewhat surprised. No matter how he looked at it, there was a spirit body inside the ruby. However, on second thought, it made sense. No one stipulated that gu with a spirit body couldn't exist. The spider in the ruby was very likely a gu with a spirit body. It's no wonder Yer took this necklace. So there's such a strange gu inside. I wonder what level it is. Zhou took out his phone and snapped a picture of the ruby with the spider. To Zhou's surprise, it was really snapped. Furthermore, it wasn't a dimensional creature, but a companion beast. Red Heart Gu, Mythical Life Providence, Widow Life Soul, Empress of Hearts Wheel of Destiny, Love Gu Strength, 72 Speed, 80 Constitution, 71 Essence Energy, 80 Talent Skill, Neurotoxin Companion Form, Pendant. This is a companion beast that has already hatched, but why is it here? Where did its owner go? Zhou was somewhat puzzled. Logically speaking, once the owner of a companion beast died, the companion beast would dissipate. This red heart gu had clearly hatched, but it was trapped in the necklace. Its owner didn't take it back. This was somewhat strange. Zhou wanted to ask Lu Yun about the origins of the necklace, but unfortunately, he couldn't find him. All he could do was search for pictures online to see if there were any clues. It was easy to find the origins of the necklace. Zhou couldn't help but be surprised. This necklace has been around since ancient times before the dimensional storms. Furthermore, from the outcome of those who possess this necklace, it's likely due to the red heart gu inside. This is a little strange. Did companion beasts already exist in that era? Zhou couldn't figure it out. He asked Yer, but she couldn't explain it either. You can control the red heart gu inside, right? Zhou asked Yer. Yer nodded. In fact, all the suffering that Lu Yun had suffered along the way was because of the red heart gu. Then keep it. If you encounter danger in the future, you can protect yourself. Zhou returned the necklace to Yer. However, Yer shook her head and said, I'll give it to you to raise me. Don't abandon me. When Zhou heard Yer say that, he suddenly realized that Yer was a human and not his companion beast. His attitude towards Yer seemed to make her feel insecure. Zhou picked up the necklace and put it on Yer. He stroked Yer's head and said, I gave you your name. Do you know who has the right to give others names? Yer shook her head. Clearly, she didn't understand because she didn't have a name. Zhou said, only family members can name their children. I gave you your name, so you are my family. You are my sister, so you don't have to worry about me abandoning you. That will never happen. Do you understand? Yer looked at Zhou and shook her head. She didn't seem to understand the concept of family. It's fine. You will slowly understand in the future. Family doesn't need you to give me anything. I will still treat you well. I will accompany you, be sad with you, and be happy with you. Zhou tried his best to make Yer understand, but unfortunately, he wasn't a person with high emotional intelligence. He couldn't explain it well. As the necklace was too eye-catching, and Zhou wasn't a person who loved antiques, He tore apart the necklace and separated the pendant embedded inside. The ones outside were just decorations. The ruby and a thin thread in the middle were the red heart gu's main body. Zhou only wore the red heart gu's main body around Ye-er's neck and put away the gem necklace to prevent unnecessary trouble. As he noticed Ye-er's psychological problem, Zhou clumsily wanted to treat her better, but he didn't know what to do. This was because Zhou had been very independent since he was very young. He had never experienced how his elders loved him, so he didn't know how to treat others well. Zhou could only do his best to take the time to take Ye-er out for a walk and buy her some food or toys. However, Zhou didn't know what girls played. In fact, he didn't know what boys played because he had never played with any toys when he was young. After some thought, Zhou bought a phone for Ye-er and taught her how to use it. He also added his account so that Ye-er could send him a message or call him if he wasn't around in the future. Ye-er seemed very happy as she fiddled with her phone for a long time. However, she wasn't interested in games or movies. She only learned to use her phone to send messages to Zhou, but she didn't know how to use input methods or write. If she wanted to send a voice message, she didn't speak much. It was very troublesome. However, Ye-er worked hard to learn words and input methods. Zhou took out his phone and continued grinding. His luck today seemed pretty good. The 9 dragons happened to respawn, and after killing them, another companion egg dropped. Demon Blood True Dragon, Jin Mythical Life Providence. Demon Dragon Bloodline Incomplete, Life Soul. Jin Dragon Incomplete, Wheel of Destiny. Dragon Domain Incomplete, Strength, 80 Speed, 80 Constitution, 80 Essence Energy, 80 Talent Skill. Dragon Breath, Demon Dragon Transformation, Demon Dragon True Body, Dragon's Wrath Companion Form, Dragon Scale Armor Incomplete. If it wasn't for the fact that the word Jin behind the Demon Dragon True Dragon was different, Zhou would have imagined that it was the same companion egg that had dropped previously. Its stats and skills were identical. I wonder if I can fuse this thing? Zhou tried matching it and realized that the compatibility between the two was 99%. It was almost impossible for him to fail. Zhou directly clicked on the fusion button. After all, he couldn't wear 2 dragon scale armors alone. He might be pleasantly surprised by the fusion. However, a notification suddenly popped up in-game. Incomplete state. Lacking main body. Unable to fuse. What does this mean? Zhou didn't know what the so-called main body was. He could only guess that he had to obtain 9 different Demon Blood True Dragons before he could fuse them. On Pill Furnace Mountain, Zhou kept grinding, but he didn't obtain a mythical companion egg. A life rejuvenation pill with dragon patterns and a resurrection pill with tiger patterns would randomly drop every time. However, after grinding for a few days, Zhou didn't manage to obtain a companion egg. Chapter 841. When it was time for Pill Furnace Mountain to respawn pill essences, Zhou went to grind them again. The Golden Overlord sword killed the pill essences that spewed out one by one. As he killed, he suddenly saw a strange pill essence spew out from Pill Furnace Mountain. The pill essence wasn't the common red and gold. Although it was white, it wasn't a dragon-shaped life rejuvenation pill. Although it was black, it wasn't a tiger-shaped resurrection pill. It was a pill that was half white and half black. Half of it was in the shape of a dragon, and the other half was in the shape of a tiger. It looked strange and inexplicably harmonious. One could faintly hear the roar of a dragon and tiger from the pill essence's body. Clang! The Golden Overlord sword slashed at the pill essence, but a white dragon-shaped essence energy rushed out from the pill, blocking the Golden Overlord sword's sword beam. Although the dragon-shaped essence energy was ultimately shattered by the Golden Overlord sword, it didn't have the strength to injure the pill essence again. Before the Golden Overlord sword could launch a second attack, another tiger roar sounded from the pill essence's body. A black essence energy condensed into a ferocious tiger that pounced at the blood-colored avatar. Zhou Wen summoned Tyrant Behemoth and slapped down with its claws, shattering the essence energy tiger. Tyrant Behemoth took a step further and wanted to shatter the pill essence as well, but a dragon and tiger roar sounded from the pill essence's body. The dragon and tiger shadows rose and blocked Tyrant Behemoth's attack. Tyrant Behemoth struck out several times, but it failed to shatter the dragon-tiger shadow. All it could do was activate absolute strength and roar as it struck again. After more than 10 punches, it shattered the dragon-tiger shadow. The pill essence was also struck by Tyrant Behemoth's punches one after another. Finally, it was blasted into pieces, and its healing speed couldn't keep up with the speed of shattering. Killed mythical creature, dragon-tiger pill essence. Discovered companion egg. When Zhou Wen saw the game notification, he saw a companion egg drop. He couldn't help but be delighted as he hurriedly picked it up and hatched it. Dragon Tiger Pill Essence, Mythical Life Providence, Dragon Spirit and Tiger Ferocity Life Soul, Dragon Tiger Combat Wheel of Fortune, Resurrection. Strength, 80 Speed, 80 Constitution, 80 Essence Energy, 81 Talent Skill. Non-companion form, pill one-time use. What a powerful pill essence. Can this thing really revive the dead? After Zhou Wen saw the information on the Dragon Tiger pill essence, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. Putting aside its other attributes, its Wheel of Fate was quite powerful. According to its introduction, it had the ability to revive the dead, but no one knew whether that was true or not. However, there was no doubt that this was a good life-saving item. Even if it was difficult to really bring the dead back to life, it would definitely have a miraculous effect when used when seriously injured. After obtaining such a treasure pill essence, Zhou Wen was even more motivated. Unfortunately, he didn't gain anything else after grinding the 81 pill essences. During this period of time, there had been no news from the Zhang family. Zhang Yuji had not returned after going out. The date of the auction was approaching. That morning, Zhou Wen took Yer out for a walk as usual. When he walked to the nearby river, he saw Zhang Chuanxiu sitting on a bench by the river. What a coincidence! Zhou Wen walked over with Yer to greet her. It's not a coincidence. I specially came here to wait for you, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Zhou Wen was slightly taken aback. Why didn't you go to the hotel to find me? Zhang Chuanxiu's face was filled with exhaustion, but he still smiled and said, It's been stifling these past few days. I also wanted to come out to take a breather. I happened to be waiting for you here. Why are you looking for me? Zhou Wen asked. The matter with the Fiend Tomb is very troublesome. More than 10 people from the Zhang family have already died. They have all jumped into the Fiend Tomb and turned into Fiend stone statues, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Isn't there someone guarding it? Zhou Wen was alarmed. It's useless. No one knows who will jump next. Perhaps the next person will be the person guarding it. We have already thought of many solutions. We have even evacuated people from the Fiend Tomb, but there are still people who walk to the Fiend Tomb and turn into Fiend stone statues, Zhang Chuanxiu said with a sigh. Is there anything I can help with? On account of Zhang Yuji, Zhou Wen didn't mind helping if it was within his capabilities. Zhang Chuanxiu shook his head and said, Up to now, I haven't figured out a solution. I'm not here because of the Fiend Tomb. Then why are you looking for me? Zhou Wen asked in puzzlement. The Zhang family had encountered such a huge problem, but Zhang Chuanxiu still took the time to meet him. It was probably a very important matter. I'm here to ask you for a favor. The Zhang family is in contact with Sunset College. If nothing goes wrong, Yuji should be able to become a tutor at Sunset College. I hope you can take care of her. She doesn't have many friends, so I can't beg others, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Is the matter with the Fiend Tomb really that dangerous? Zhou Wen knew that if it wasn't for the fact that they had no choice, how could the Zhang family let Zhang Yuji leave Mount Dragon Tiger to go to Sunset College? They must have reached a point where even the Zhang clan felt powerless, so they made such a decision. It's just a precaution. After the auction ends, I'll get Yuji to head to Luoyang with you. If the Zhang family can successfully survive this, I'll bring her back, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Zhou Wen felt that this was an opportunity, so he looked at Zhang Chuanxiu and said, although I don't know much about the Fiend Tomb, I have some special abilities. Perhaps I can be of some help to the Fiend Tomb. If your Zhang family doesn't mind, can you let me conduct a comprehensive survey of the Fiend Tomb? The Zhang family is extremely grateful that you are willing to help us, so why would we mind? However, the Fiend Tomb is too dangerous. People who have come into contact with the Fiend Tomb might unknowingly walk there. I'm afraid. Zhang Chuanxiu didn't continue, but his meaning was clear. I've already been to the Fiend Tomb. If there's really a problem, I won't be able to escape. I'm doing this for myself. Zhou Wen's last sentence was the truth. The survey was just an excuse. What he really wanted to do was to take a picture of the tiny palm symbol and download the Fiend Tomb dungeon. However, after Zhou Wen downloaded the Fiend Tomb dungeon, he could enter the Fiend Tomb in-game. Perhaps he could resolve the Zhang family's problem. When do you want to go? Zhang Chuanxiu asked after some thought. The sooner the better. This matter can't be delayed, Zhou Wen said. In that case, come with me now. Zhang Chuanxiu took Zhou Wen to the Fiend Tomb again. Zhou Wen was delighted. This time, he could finally approach the Fiend Tomb and take a picture of the tiny palm symbol on it. When he arrived at the Fiend Tomb again, there were clearly more Zhang family members guarding it. On each stone platform, there were 4 people sitting facing each other. If anything happened, the other 3 would immediately know to prevent any accidents. Chapter 842. Chuanxiu, why did you bring him here? An elder said with a frown when he saw Zhang Chuanxiu bring Zhou Wen over. Uncle, Zhou Wen is proficient in many special exploration-type essence energy skills. Perhaps he can help us discover the problem with the Fiend Tomb, so I invited him over to take a look. Zhang Chuanxiu didn't say that Zhou Wen had requested to come. Hurry up. Don't delay others' work. The elder frowned slightly but didn't say anything else. Zhang Chuanxiu led Zhou Wen into the Fiend Tomb area. Zhou Wen could clearly see that the Fiend Stone petrification had worsened again. A small portion of the nearby mountain walls had been petrified. The last time he came, the Fiend Stones didn't cover such a large area. Furthermore, there were more than 10 Fiend Stone statues on the Fiend Stone ground. They had different expressions and appearances. They were likely the Zhang family members who had run into the Fiend Tomb area. How do you want to investigate? Do you have any special needs? Zhang Chuanxiu asked Zhou Wen. I need to observe the Fiend Tomb up close. If possible, I also want to take a few photos, Zhou Wen said. You can take photos, but you have to be fast. Furthermore, when approaching the Fiend Tomb, you can't exceed those lines or touch the Fiend Stones. Otherwise, you will end up like them. Zhang Chuanxiu pointed at the red lines in the air. The red lines were about 10 meters away from the Fiend Tomb. All right, can I go now? Zhou Wen agreed immediately. At a distance of about 10 meters, his phone was enough to lock onto the tiny palm symbol and download the dungeon. Go. I hope you can discover something, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Zhou Wen leaped into the air and used the Godfiend Life Providence to fly towards the Fiend Tomb. At the same time, he got Dr. Darkness to attach himself to him in his soul form and use his eyes of penetration to observe the Fiend Tomb. In fact, the eyes of penetration didn't have good penetrative effects on metal and stone. Zhou Wen was only putting on a show for the Zhang family to prove that he did have the ability to do so and wasn't here to mess around. When the Zhang family saw Zhou Wen's eyes shoot out 2 beams at the Fiend Tomb like searchlights, they looked at him curiously. Zhou Wen pretended to take a look before taking out his phone to take a picture. In fact, the eyes of penetration couldn't penetrate the thick Fiend Stones to see the interior of the Fiend Tomb. Zhou Wen circled the Fiend Tomb and took the opportunity to take a picture of the tiny palm symbol. The game immediately entered the download screen, making Zhou Wen feel a lot more relaxed. After pretending to look around the fiend tomb seriously for a while, Zhou returned to the stone platform. How is it? When Zhang Chuanxiu asked Zhou, the other Zhang family members also looked at Zhou. I can't see any problems for the time being. I'll go back and think about it. Perhaps I can gain something, Zhou said. All right. Zhang Chuanxiu sent Zhou back without saying anything else. After Zhou returned to his residence, he eagerly opened the Fiend Tomb dungeon that he had just downloaded. Firstly, he was very curious about the Fiend Tomb dungeon, and secondly, he hoped to help the Zhang family. He didn't wish to see Zhang Yuji's family destroyed and forced to wander to Sunset College. The game had been downloaded successfully. An image of a white grave appeared on the phone's desktop with the words Fiend Tomb written below. Zhou clicked on the program and entered the game. In front of him was the crater in the mountain where the Fiend Tomb was. The tiny Fiend Tomb stood there, and the grayish-white Fiend stones looked like snow under the moonlight. Zhou saw that there were many strange faces on the Fiend stone ground, just like in reality. There were more than 10 faces, but none of the Zhang family members who had turned into Fiend stones. According to Zhang Chuanxiu, humans were petrified when they touched the Fiend stones after the Fiend faces appeared. They hadn't discovered any similar problems when they touched the Fiend stones previously. Zhou believed this. Tyrant Behemoth had previously eaten Fiend stones, so there was no problem at all. Zhou summoned a few different pets and made them land on the Fiend stone ground. As expected, all of them were petrified. Zhou summoned Tyrant Behemoth again to see if it would be petrified. After all, it had eaten Fiend stones before this. Tyrant Behemoth landed on the Fiend stones, but its feet also showed signs of Fiend petrification. However, the speed at which it was petrified was relatively slow. It can actually be petrified? After Zhou ordered Tyrant Behemoth to use absolute strength, the Fiend petrification didn't continue working on it. Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. Thankfully, Tyrant Behemoth was still strong enough. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy for him to enter the Fiend Tomb. As the Fiend Tomb didn't have an entrance, it could only be dug open with brute force. This heavy responsibility could only fall on Behemoth. The Zhang family had an ancestral rule that the Fiend Tomb couldn't be dug open. Otherwise, Goddess Ba would wake up. When that happened, everything would be incinerated. Humans would have no chance of survival. In reality, Zhou definitely didn't dare dig, but in-game, there naturally weren't so many taboos. Under Zhou's command, Behemoth, who had activated absolute strength, slammed into the Fiend Tomb. The two horns on its head spun like an electric drill, immediately causing sparks to fly everywhere. Fiend stone powder splattered everywhere. Just as Behemoth began digging the tomb, the Fiend faces on the ground suddenly seemed to come to life. They burrowed out of the ground and transformed into Fiend stone statues. The Fiend stone statues pounced at Tyrant Behemoth without a word. Zhou hurriedly sent a few companion beasts to fight them, preventing them from disturbing Tyrant Behemoth from digging the tomb. As it was only a probe, the companion beasts Zhou sent weren't his main combat pets. They were all at the epic stage like the runic heavy-armored warrior. The only mythical stage was a golden battle god halberd. The speed and strength of the Fiend stone statues looked to be at the epic stage. However, after their bodies were shattered, they quickly revived in the Fiend stones. They couldn't be killed no matter how hard he tried. Furthermore, anything touched by the Fiend stone statues would be petrified. It was extremely difficult to deal with. As the Fiend Tomb was dug open, more and more Fiend faces appeared around him. They transformed into Fiend stone statues, and many of them had already rushed to Behemoth's side. Thankfully, Behemoth, who was in its absolute strength state, was indeed an invincible existence. The Fiend stone statues grabbed its body, but they couldn't petrify it. They wrapped around Behemoth like a group of ants. Is there no way to kill them completely? Zhou frowned slightly. He had already tried many strength attributes, but they were useless. He could shatter the Fiend stone statues, but he couldn't stop them from reviving in the fiend's stones. Furthermore, the game didn't have a notification to kill them. Clearly, shattering them wasn't enough to truly kill them. Sogu. Chapter 843. Clang. While Tyrant Behemoth was digging the fiend tomb, its horns seemed to touch something as it produced the sound of metal colliding. As for Tyrant Behemoth, it automatically took 2 steps back and stared at the dug-up fiend tomb. Inside the fiend tomb was a huge human face. It was identical to the fiend face that appeared on the fiend stone, but this face was much larger. Furthermore, it emitted a strange grayish-white aura. Zhou stared at the face and sized it up, but it floated up by itself. Only then did he realize that it wasn't a face, but a stone mask. From the looks of it, the appearance of the fiend face should be a problem with this mask. Zhou ordered Tyrant Behemoth to throw a punch. He wanted to see what abilities the mask had. Bam! Tyrant Behemoth's absolute strength strike shattered the mask. This left Zhou slightly taken aback. Although he felt that there weren't many companion beasts in the world that could fight Tyrant Behemoth head-on, it was destroyed without even withstanding a single punch. This was too weak. It was inferior to the Dragon Tiger Pill essence. Just as Zhou was feeling puzzled, he saw the gray powder that filled the sky float towards Tyrant Behemoth. Before Zhou could react, the dust from the shattered mask stuck to Tyrant Behemoth's face, turning it into a complete mask again. However, this time, the mask matched the size of Tyrant Behemoth's face, perfectly wrapping around it. Zhou immediately felt that something was amiss. Indeed, Tyrant Behemoth roared and struggled, wanting to tear off the mask on its face, but it failed. Furthermore, its struggle became smaller and smaller. Soon, Zhou realized that Tyrant Behemoth was no longer under his control. Boom! Tyrant Behemoth threw a punch at the blood-colored avatar. The blood-colored avatar dodged to the side as its fist smashed a huge crater in the mountain wall. Tyrant Behemoth unleashed its terrifying strength as it attacked the blood-colored avatar again and again. Zhou strength wasn't enough to fight Tyrant Behemoth, so all he could do was constantly dodge. As Zhou dodged, he observed the mask and made a mental connection with Tyrant Behemoth. The mental connection was already useless. The mask completely controlled Tyrant Behemoth. The mask's ability surprised Zhou. From the looks of it, I can only give it a try. After shattering the mask, I'll see if I can release Tyrant Behemoth. Zhou put on the invisibility cloak and instantly vanished. Tyrant Behemoth was a brute strength-type companion beast. It had never been afraid of anyone in a head-on battle. However, Zhou had vanished. All it could do was stand there in a daze. Its masked face looked around, but it couldn't find Zhou. Suddenly, an invisible sword beam flashed. The mask on Tyrant Behemoth's face was split into 2 and fell from Tyrant Behemoth's face. However, Tyrant Behemoth didn't regain its freedom. The mask automatically shattered and condensed on Tyrant Behemoth's face, forming a new mask. Tyrant Behemoth was still under its control. Behemoth. However, Tyrant King Behemoth said, King S of Behemoth, he, someone, the tyrant of the tyrant to beast to say, of Behemoth, to know, king, and of to up to, and emperor of. It's impossible for there to be no weakness. What's the weakness of the mask? Zhou hid in the darkness and used the abilities of the Supreme Hell King Life Soul and Truth Listeners, hearing to constantly scan the mask. Coupled with Dr. Darkness's penetrative vision, the mask had almost no secrets in front of Zhou. However, the mask itself was flawless. It was completely formed from gray stone. He didn't discover anything special about it. It was different from the water elementals Zhou had seen before. Water elementals could also be scattered and condensed again. However, water elementals had a water elemental core in their bodies. As long as the core was destroyed, they could kill water elementals. However, this mask was different. It didn't have a core in its body. No matter how it was sliced, or even blasted the mask to dust like Tyrant Behemoth, it couldn't be killed. Could it be that it really doesn't have any weaknesses? Zhou observed for a long time but failed to discover the mask's weakness. Demonic Neonate, who was hiding in the invisibility cloak, didn't attack. Clearly, she hadn't found the mask's flaw, so she had no intention of attacking. Even Demonic Neonate and I can't discover the mask's flaw. Is it possible that there aren't any flaws on its body? Or perhaps its flaw isn't on its body? Zhou Wen's heart stirred as he focused his attention on the Fiend Tomb where he had discovered the mask. The Fiend Tomb was filled with grayish-white Fiend stones. After the mask flew out, the Fiend stones below formed the shape of a human face, perhaps due to being compressed by the Fiend stones. However, it only looked a little similar. It didn't have the liveliness of the other Fiend faces. It didn't seem to be a living creature. However, Zhou Wen didn't care about that. He had to give it a try in every aspect. He turned invisible and quickly slashed out with the light concealment sword, slashing at the human-faced Fiend stones in the Fiend Tomb. Wherever the sword mark appeared, black blood spewed out like a fountain. As for the mask on Tyrant Behemoth's face, it suddenly distorted as cracks appeared on it. When the black blood spewed out, the mask shattered with a crack and scattered all over the ground. Killed mythical creature Ghoul Mask. A notification appeared in-game. Nothing dropped? Zhou Wen was somewhat depressed. The Dragon Tiger Pill essence that had dropped recently seemed to have used up all his luck. It had been days since anything good dropped. Chapter 844. The living creature looked very strange. Its lower body was like a snake, but it also looked like a fish. Its upper body had 2 dragon claws, and its head looked like a dragon's, but it didn't have horns. It was a very strange creature. It lay quietly in the grave. For some reason, Tyrant Behemoth stood outside the pit and stared at it as though it had been possessed. Zhou Wen's heart stirred as he summoned the golden battle god Halberd and got it to attack the monster in the grave. However, when the golden battle god Halberd approached the grave, it lost control and landed beside the grave. Zhou Wen hurriedly sent several companion beasts over, but the outcome was the same. As long as they approached the grave, they would stand there motionless as though they had been possessed. Be it animals or weapons, all companion beasts looked the same. The dimensional creatures in this Fiend Tomb are really strange. First, it was the Ghoul Mask and now, it's such a monster. Their abilities are so strange. Zhou Wen thought for a moment before summoning Truth Listener and getting it to go to the grave. However, Truth Listener didn't stand there in a daze. It tore open 2 earrings and grabbed the monster with its claws, tearing it into 2. When the monster wanted to resist, it was already too late. It died a violent death, and only then did Tyrant Behemoth and the other companion beasts regain their clarity of mind. Thankfully, I have enough companion beasts and their abilities are complete. Otherwise, I really wouldn't be able to do anything to this Fiend Tomb, Zhou Wen thought. Killed mythical creature Ghost Hornless. The game notification popped up. Another mythical creature. What's hiding below? Could it really be a Ba? Zhou Wen wondered how strong it would be if it was really a Ba. After eliminating Ghost Hornless, Zhou Wen ordered Tyrant Behemoth to continue digging. He wanted to see if there was a Ba in the Fiend Tomb today. Tyrant Behemoth received the order and continued digging. Not long after, the Fiend stones emitted a scorching aura. The deeper it went, the hotter the Fiend stones became. Later on, the Fiend stones turned into magma. Tyrant Behemoth wasn't afraid of the magma as it sucked it into its stomach. As the magma vanished, something gradually appeared beneath. Zhou Wen finally saw an item that wasn't a Fiend stone. It was a black metal that was forged into the shape of a bed. There was a canopy over the bed, and a transparent veil hung down. The magma formed by the magic stones was blocked by the veil and was unable to invade the bed. And on that bed there was actually a peerless beauty sleeping there. She merely closed her eyes and slept there, yet she was already incomparably beautiful. It was truly hard to imagine how beautiful she would be if she were to open her eyes. The woman was dressed in red, which accentuated her seductive figure. This might be the opportunity for Slaughterer to advance to a perfect body. I have Banana Fairy. It's not impossible for me to restrain the Guardian's flames. I still have a chance to kill her. Zhou thought again. There's actually a Guardian in the Fiend Tomb. In that case, the Ba the Zhang family mentioned is actually a Guardian? The more Zhou thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. When he connected it to Ba's origins, Zhou increasingly felt that she might be a Guardian who had survived the previous battle of Guardians. Now, Zhou suspected that the battle between Yellow Emperor and Qiyu might have been a battle of Guardians. There must have been many Guardians participating back then. The former principal disappeared after studying the Zhuolu battlefield. The things he left behind seemed to be related to the Zhuolu battle. Could it be that the things left behind by the former principal can really give people a chance to defeat those Guardians? Zhou thought about the connection. He first grinded the other dungeons. It wasn't easy for him to last 24 hours before Zhou entered the Fiend Tomb dungeon again. By then, the Fiend Tomb had already returned to its original state. Zhou ordered Tyrant Behemoth to dig up the Fiend Tomb and lure the ghoul mask out. He held the Golden Overlord's sword and slashed at the face in the Fiend Tomb. However, just as the blood-colored avatar arrived in front of the Fiend Tomb, it collapsed and died on the spot. Zhou couldn't help but be stunned as the game screen turned black. It would take another 24 hours to enter the Fiend Tomb. What the hell is this? I have to wait 24 hours just to die once? Isn't this dungeon too weird? Zhou felt helpless. Zhou considered how he should handle this matter to prevent too many companion beasts from being exposed. After all, he needed too many companion beasts this time. At the very least, Tyrant Behemoth, Truth Listener, and Invisibility Cloak were necessary. When the Fiend Tomb dungeon opened again, Zhou eagerly stormed in. This time, Zhou strictly followed the procedure. Tyrant Behemoth dug up the grave to lure out the ghoul mask. Zhou turned invisible and went to the grave to kill the ghost face. Then, he dug out the ghost hornless and used Truth Listener to kill it. The entire process was perfect and there were no problems. Then, Zhou waited for a period of time to confirm that the Fiend's stones didn't increase, that the ghost face didn't appear, and that the companion beasts wouldn't be petrified again. No companion beasts walked towards the Fiend Tomb by themselves. Only then did he feel relieved. It wasn't easy for me to come here. I can't waste it. Next, let's see if Banana Fairy can restrain the Guardian's flames. Zhou got Tyrant Behemoth to continue digging. Soon, Tyrant Behemoth dug out the witch again. Just like last time, when the veil was lifted, the entire Fiend Tomb immediately burned with terrifying flames. However, this time, Banana Fairy was beside the blood-colored avatar. Just as the flames rose, Banana Fairy opened her cherry mouth and spat out the grand Een wind augmented by the three realms' best wind. In an instant, the flames that filled the screen vanished. The speed at which they extinguished made it seem as though the flames had never burned at all. Even the magma in the Fiend Tomb was extinguished by the grand Een wind, solidifying into rock. As for the metal bed and the witch, they were sent flying by the three realms' best wind. They tumbled into the distance and quickly became a black dot before disappearing. It was unknown how far they had been blown away, but it had already exceeded the extreme distance that could be seen in-game. As expected of the three realms' best wind. It's too powerful! Zhou was overjoyed. Even the Guardian couldn't withstand Banana Fairy's current blow. It was truly terrifying. Warning! Warning! Goddess Ba transforms into terror form. Goddess Ba transforms into terror form. Just as Zhou was rejoicing, a red warning suddenly popped up in-game. It was like a warning light that constantly flashed, giving people a visual sense of danger. Terror form? What's that? Zhou was momentarily taken aback. He wondered if this terror form had anything to do with a god's terrorgrade. He remembered that the silver-haired companion beast had said that most of the mythical creatures that appeared on Earth were likely at the terrorgrade, but it hadn't mentioned any terror form. Just as Zhou was puzzled, he saw scarlet flames burn half the sky red. A red figure that resembled a ghost tore through the air at an unbelievable speed. Wherever the red figure went, everything around it turned into raging flames. Even the air and the mountains were set ablaze. As he was extremely far away, Zhou didn't manage to see the figure's appearance clearly in the beginning. However, she arrived so quickly that he could see her clearly in the blink of an eye. That was likely Goddess Ba, but the current Goddess Ba was very different from before. Right now, Goddess Ba's entire body was burning with a terrifying flame. This kind of flame didn't burn outside of her body, but her entire body. Every inch of muscle, every bone, and every tiny cell seemed to be burning with a bright red flame that was as red as blood. It was as though her entire body was condensed from flames. Her hair was like fire threads, and her eyes were like fire pupils. She was like a fiery demoness that had walked out of a myth, emitting a terrifying and dangerous aura. Due to her arrival, the entire valley burned. The river instantly dried up, and the ground turned crimson like purgatory. Zhou could sense that the strength in her was unimaginably terrifying. It was something he had never seen on any creature or companion beast. Tyrant Behemoth roared as it soared into the sky. Its huge fist struck at Goddess Ba, who was floating in midair. With the augmentation of absolute strength, its strike could collapse mountains. However, Goddess Ba only looked coldly at Tyrant Behemoth without any intention of attacking. Tyrant Behemoth's terrifying strike failed to touch her body. It didn't even shatter the flames outside Goddess Ba's body. The invisible flames held up its fist. Chapter 846. The flames on Goddess Ba's body surged as Tyrant Behemoth's huge body immediately transformed into a fireball. The terrifying flames rapidly burned its body. With Tyrant Behemoth's body's toughness, it couldn't withstand the flames. The entire valley had already fallen into a sea of fire. Due to Banana Fairy's grand wind, she could barely prevent the blood-colored avatar from being burned by the flames. However, without the augmentation of the three realms' best wind, the grand wind was clearly no match for the flames. It was rapidly being devoured by the flames. Seeing that Tyrant Behemoth was about to be burned to death, Zhou hurriedly summoned Torch Dragon Youngling and activated Bright Torch Vision World at Goddess Ba. However, what was reflected in Torch Dragon Youngling's eyes was a sea of fire. There was no sign of Goddess Ba. Goddess Ba stood there without being sucked into the vision world. Holy sh*t, what's this? Even Bright Torch Vision World is useless? Is it because of the terror state? Zhou was alarmed. Before he could think further, the sea of fire had already devoured the blood-colored avatar, and the game's screen went black. What a terrifying terror state! Is this the true power of a terrorgrade mythical? Zhou felt that Goddess Ba was probably the most terrifying creature he had seen so far. Even the two guardians in Ant City and the Underground Sea aren't this terrifying. I wonder if those two have a terror state. Zhou guessed that they probably didn't have one. At the very least, he had never seen one before. If there was anyone else with a terror state, it was probably the log in Forbidden City. She might have a terror state. The newborn guardians who had yet to come out of the cocoon were relatively unlikely to have a terror state. How did this fear state come about? Can companion beasts have such a state? Zhou thought about it but couldn't figure it out. He suddenly thought of the Dharch and thought to himself, could the Dharch also have a terror state? After some thought, Zhou sent a message to the Dharch. The Dharch, can I ask you a question? Are you a terror grade expert? He originally didn't expect the Dharch to reply to him, but to his surprise, the Dharch replied after a while. Not bad. You even know about the terror grade. What else do you know? You even know about the existence of a terror form. You should be in existence at that level, right? Zhouwen said after some hesitation. What's a terror state? To you humans, the terrorgrade is an invincible existence, but in front of me, the terrorgrade is trash. The Dharch said disdainfully, you must have encountered a fellow with a terror form. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to ask me. The Dharch is wise. Zhouwen flattered, hoping that the Dharch would say more. The Dharch didn't disappoint him and sent another message. In theory, a mythical creature with a terror form is considered a true mythical creature. However, not all mythical creatures can have a terror form. It depends on their bloodline talent and comprehension ability. Ordinary guardians can have a terror form as long as they constantly evolve in battle. However, four-dimensional creatures, only the top ones can have a terror state. What's the terror state? Zhouwen asked. The Dharch replied, what do you think is the difference between the mythical stage and the ordinary epic and legendary stage? Basic stats and the Wheel of Destiny, Zhouwen said. The Wheel of Destiny can indeed allow mythical creatures to possess a powerful ability, but no matter how powerful it is, it's only an ability. It's actually not a qualitative difference. From the perspective of a dimensional lifeform, being able to transform into a terror form is an important symbol of distinguishing a creature's level. There's no division between legendary and epic creatures in the dimension because such creatures are too weak. They don't have the right to enter the division. There are only two ways to truly divide them. Dimensional creatures that can transform into terror and dimensional creatures that can't. This can be considered the first division of the dimension. I still don't understand what kind of power the terror transformation is. Zhouwen still didn't understand. The Dharch added, of course you don't understand because that's the true mythical realm. You naturally won't understand since you haven't reached that realm. To put it simply, the so-called God is an indescribable object, an unknown object that makes humans feel fear. If humans can defeat creatures with strength, they won't be called gods. The terror state is an indescribable state. After the terror transformation, no matter how strong a mortal's strength is, it's impossible for them to injure a terror-transformed body. Only a terror state can defeat a terror state. Then how can I transform into a terror form? Zhouwen asked. It's impossible for you humans to transform into a terror form unless you sign a contract with a guardian and use the guardian's power to advance to the mythical stage. Only then will you have the right to transform into a terror form, the Dharch said. Why can't humans advance to the mythical stage? Zhouwen couldn't understand why only humans couldn't advance to the mythical stage. Let me make an analogy. Don't you humans have something called comics? The characters in those comics are called two-dimensional creatures by you, and you humans are three-dimensional creatures. Do you think no matter how powerful the characters in comics are, they can become three-dimensional creatures like humans? Of course, this is only an analogy. It's not completely accurate, but the actual situation isn't much different. Therefore, no matter how strong the characters in comics are, they can't injure three-dimensional creatures. As for three-dimensional creatures, they can easily destroy two-dimensional creatures. This is why only the terror grade can defeat the terror grade. This is because after the terror transformation, they are no longer existences on the same level. There's no comparison, the Dharch explained. Is there really no hope for humans? Zhouwen couldn't believe that humans couldn't advance to the mythical stage. At the very least, Xia Zhihuang had succeeded, although his methods were very cruel. The Dharch replied, of course there's hope. Contract with a guardian or fuse with a guardian like Wang Mingyuan. There are only two paths. I previously saw a human who successfully advanced to the mythical stage by himself, Zhouwen said. The Thearcha's reply was filled with contempt. You're talking about the one in Forbidden City, right? Do you think that if it wasn't for Purple Star Lord's help, he could have advanced to the mythical stage by relying on his human strength? Zhouwen was slightly taken aback. Back then, Xia Zhihuang had indeed used the power in the wood to condense the last life providence and life soul. With the help of the purple lightning, he had advanced to the mythical stage. There are only two paths for humans. Have you considered which one you want to take? If you want to contract a guardian, I can help you contract an extremely powerful guardian. It's definitely not inferior to Purple Star Lord, the Dharch said. I still want to give it a try. I want to see if I can advance to the mythical stage with my own strength, Zhou said. Then take your time. It won't be too late to find me when your path ends in the future. The Dharch wasn't angry this time. She seemed certain that Zhou couldn't advance to the mythical stage with his own strength. Chapter 847. After waiting for 24 hours, Zhou entered the Fiend Tomb dungeon again. This time, he naturally didn't dare provoke Goddess Ba. All he did was remove the ghoul mask and ghost hornless before not attacking again. He maintained this state and observed for any other abnormalities in the Fiend Tomb. When Zhang Yuji invited him to participate in the so-called auction, there were no more problems with the Fiend Tomb. As long as he didn't continue digging, Goddess Ba wouldn't wake up. Originally, the auction was going to be held in Dragon Tiger Town, but now it was changed to a temporary encampment near the Fiend Tomb. Those who could be invited were basically the top figures in the Federation. The people from the 6 families were all present. When the Cape family saw Zhou, they naturally didn't have any good expressions. The other families didn't have a good relationship with Zhou. Instead, someone from the North District's ultimate family clan took the initiative to greet Zhou. Lance often mentions you. He wants to have a serious battle with you again. If you have the time in the future, why don't you head to the North District? The elder from the ultimate family clan said to Zhou with a smile. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely go. Zhou had long had thoughts about the dimensional zones in the North District, but he hadn't gone because it was too far away. However, now that Fine Dust needed him to walk an unknown path in order to advance, it was inevitable that he would have to walk around in the future, so it was a good time to make a trip to the North District. After chatting for a while, the person in charge of the Zhang clan came over and began to speak. It was similar to what Zhang Chuanxiu had said. The general meaning was that the Zhang family wouldn't charge any form of money for the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg auction. As long as they could help the Zhang family resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb, they could take away the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. In fact, most people already knew the news in advance, so they were not surprised. After all, such a big thing happened to the Zhang family, it was impossible to hide it. Brother Zhang, we roughly know the situation in the Fiend Tomb. However, there are some things that we might not be able to do without seeing it with our own eyes, said Dugu Wenxin, the representative of the Dugu family. In a while, I'll bring everyone to the Fiend Tomb to take a look. However, there's one thing I have to make clear to everyone. The Fiend Tomb is extremely strange. Anyone who goes there might be struck by some unknown power. Who knows when they might unknowingly walk towards the Fiend Tomb and become a lifeless fiend stone statue. Therefore, those who go will face a certain amount of danger. Whether you go or not, please make your own decision. Of course, it was best if he didn't encounter a terraform creature, but if he did, he needed a way to preserve his life. In the future, more and more guardians would appear. There would definitely be more terraform guardians appearing. There might even be terrifying dimensional creatures appearing. If it was really as the silver-haired companion beast had said, the combination of humans and guardians might produce a calamity-grade expert. That would be even more terrifying. The terror grade was already so terrifying. Zhou couldn't imagine what kind of power a calamity grade would have. As Zhang Yuji wasn't allowed to go to the Fiend Tomb, Zhou had no choice but to chase after her alone and follow the others to the Fiend Tomb. Zhang Chuanxiu had been guarding the Fiend Tomb recently. When Zhou and company arrived, Zhang Chuanxiu came out to welcome them and brought them to the stone platform. This stone platform had a great background. It was built by the ancestral celestial master back then. To this day, it hadn't been petrified. The ground and mountain walls beneath the stone platform had long been petrified. Only the 8 stone platforms were safe and sound. Most of the people who came were from the other 5 families. A portion of them were famous local wealthy families and famous freelance hunters. Zhou looked at them for a while, but he didn't find any traces of Lu Yun. Lu Yun probably won't give up easily on something he has his eyes on. If he's not here, could it be that he plans on stealing the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg? Zhou was somewhat suspicious. The others had already begun studying the problem of the Fiend Stones. They had already obtained detailed information from the Zhang family. Now was the time for them to show their abilities. Some people summoned companion beasts and tried to see if they could avoid being petrified. Others wanted to use some power to purify the petrified mountain walls and people. An elder from the Cape family summoned a cross. After praying, the cross emitted a holy glow and shone at the Zhang family members who had turned into fiend stone statues. However, it was useless. The fiend stones weren't purified. Chapter 848. It had to be said that the 6 families and the local wealthy families had a rich heritage. Their means and various companion beasts broadened Zhou horizons. Some of the companion beasts and abilities were really useful. An elder from the Cape family summoned a book-shaped companion beast. The pages of the book opened and a blurry shadow of the ghoul mask appeared. There were also some companion beasts that could move on fiend stones without being petrified. Everyone was trying their best to find a solution to the problem. These fellows are really capable. Don't tell me the problem of the fiend tomb has really been resolved by them? Zhou immediately felt a sense of danger. He had worked so hard for the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. It would be terrible if someone else beat him to it. Zhou thought for a moment and found Zhang Chuanxiu. He whispered, "I've thought of a way to resolve the problem of the fiend tomb. I just need to dig it up." Zhang Chuanxiu shook his head and said, "We can't dig up the fiend tomb. Even if I agree, the elders in my family won't agree, much less the celestial master. If we don't dig up the fiend tomb, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to resolve the problem. However, don't worry. After my investigation, there's more than one Ba in the fiend tomb. There are other dimensional creatures in the periphery. We only need to dig up a portion of the fiend tomb and eliminate those dimensional creatures. I'm confident that I won't disturb Ba," Zhou said. Zhang Chuanxiu pondered for a moment and said, "It's useless even if I believe you. This is the teachings of the ancestral celestial master. The Zhang family has guarded the teachings for generations, not daring to violate them. Otherwise, the Zhang family will definitely be wiped out. Even if it's for the Zhang family, the elders in the family will never allow anyone to touch the fiend tomb. But if we don't touch the fiend tomb, the Zhang family will still suffer. At this point in time, we have to give it a try, right?" Zhou still wanted to move Zhang Chuanxiu. Zhang Chuanxiu stared at Zhou and asked, "Are you really confident? This matter can't be fake. If anything happens, our Zhang family will be doomed." Zhou knew that Zhang Chuanxiu hoped that he could produce some strong evidence, but how could Zhou produce it? He couldn't just turn on his phone and scan the fiend tomb for them to see, right? Zhou thought for a moment and said, "To be honest, I have a special ability to see through things. I can see the situation in the fiend tomb clearly, so I'm very confident about this matter." "You can see through the fiend tomb?" Zhang Chuanxiu looked at Zhou in surprise. In fact, the Zhang family also had companion beasts with X-ray vision. Furthermore, there was more than one. However, in front of the fiend tomb, the X-ray vision of those companion beasts was useless. They were unable to see through the situation inside the fiend tomb. This didn't mean that the companion beasts' penetrative abilities weren't strong, but that the sleeping goddess Ba beneath the fiend tomb was too powerful. It wasn't easy to see through the fiend tomb. Even some companion beasts with the ability to predict could only roughly predict the ghoul mask at the top. Furthermore, the scene they predicted was blurry, just like the elder from the Cape family. There are a total of 3 levels in the Fiend Tomb. The first level is a mask. I reckon that the ghostly face in the Fiend Stone and the power of Fiend Petrification were produced because of that ghostly face. On the second level was a strange creature. It looked like a snake, but not a snake, like a dragon, but not a dragon. The Zhang family could not help but walk towards the Fiend Tomb. They were probably lured by it. The third floor is where your Zhang family is suppressing and guarding Ba, but we don't need to disturb her. As long as we dig up the top of the Fiend Tomb and get rid of the 2-dimensional creatures, we can resolve your family's problem. Zhou explained the general situation. He wasn't afraid that the Zhang family would go back on their word. Even if he told them what was down there, it wouldn't be easy to kill the Ghoul Mask and Ghost Hornless. Many people might die. Even Zhou needed the help of Tyrant Behemoth, Truth Listener, and the Invisibility Cloak to kill them. Zhang Chuanxiu couldn't help but believe Zhou when he saw how detailed he was. After some thought, he said, although that's the case, no one can guarantee that opening the Fiend Tomb won't alarm Ba at the bottom. Furthermore, we don't know anything about the abilities of the 2-dimensional creatures above. It won't be easy to kill them. After a pause, Zhang Chuanxiu said, to be honest, our Zhang family can deduce that there are dimensional creatures in the Fiend Tomb. However, due to the ancestral Celestial Master's instructions, no one dares to touch the Fiend Tomb. Therefore, this matter will probably be very difficult to facilitate. How about this? Give me some time and let me give it a try. I'll think of a way to see if I can convince the elders in my family. All right. Zhou could only wait for Zhang Chuanxiu's news. The Zhang family's current celestial master was Zhang Chuanxiu's second uncle, Zhang Xiu. At that moment, Zhang Xiu was chatting with the Cape family and the family clan of gods. Chuanxiu, you came at the right time. Old Mr. Charlie and Moses have found a way to eliminate the Fiend Tomb's influence. Come and listen as well. Zhang Xiu beckoned Zhang Chuanxiu over. Zhang Chuanxiu bowed slightly and stood behind Zhang Xiu. Although he wanted to talk about Zhou, it wasn't convenient for him to say it in front of so many people. All he could do was wait patiently. Chapter 849. Although Moses and company weren't on the stone platform, Giant God Sovereign's body was just too huge. The people on the stone platform also saw Giant God Sovereign's terrifying body. When Zhou saw Giant God Sovereign, his eyes lit up. He had already smelled the aura of a guardian. Without a doubt, it was another guardian. Zhou still couldn't defeat those guardians at the great god level, but not every guardian was that strong. Perhaps this Giant God Sovereign had strength similar to the 6-winged seraphim? Zhou wanted to take a few more looks, but Moses had already unsummoned the guardian. Zhou thought for a moment and suddenly frowned. He thought to himself, don't tell me that fellow wants to use the power of a guardian to touch the Fiend Tomb? Isn't that courting death? When guardians descended on Earth, they represented different dimensional races in battle. They were enemies with each other. Now that a guardian was used to bombard the place where another guardian was sleeping, it was obvious what would happen next. Without a doubt, Goddess Ba, who was sleeping in the Fiend Tomb, would most likely go berserk. When that happened, the Zhang family wouldn't be the only unlucky ones. Everyone would die. Zhou didn't want to die, nor did he want Zhang Yuji's family to be destroyed. Therefore, he was already considering how he should stop the Zhang family if they really agreed to let the Guardian attack the Fiend Tomb. Zhang Xiu was still considering Charlie and Moses's suggestion. The 2 different plans seemed to be worth a try, but at the same time, it was difficult to say which method would be effective. Charlie and Moses were arguing, hoping that the Zhang family would use their plan. Chuanxiu, what do you think? Zhang Xiu asked Zhang Chuanxiu. When Zhang Chuanxiu was young, he had already helped his family guard the Fiend Tomb. Furthermore, Zhang Xiu had the intention of nurturing him as the next celestial master of the Zhang family. At this moment, He was not only asking Zhang Chuanxiu for his opinion, but also to test him. Zhang Chuanxiu thought for a moment and bowed to Zhang Xiu. Celestial Master, if possible, I wish to hear more plans before making a decision. Unfortunately, other than our two families, no one has discovered the mask in the Fiend Tomb, much less eliminated it without damaging the Fiend Tomb, Moses said. Zhang Xiu looked at Zhang Chuanxiu thoughtfully and asked, Are there any other plans? Zhang Chuanxiu hurriedly said, Zhou Wen, who represents Luoyang's and family, also has a plan that can resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb. Celestial Master, why don't you listen to it first? Is he Yuji's little friend? Zhang Xiu clearly knew who Zhou Wen was. Yes, Yuji has a good relationship with Zhou Wen. He even saved Zhou Wen before. He has no ill intentions towards the Zhang family, Zhang Chuanxiu said. Then invite him over and tell me about his plan, Zhang Xiu said after thinking for a while. Zhang Chuanxiu hurriedly accepted the order and went to look for Zhou Wen. Just as Zhang Chuanxiu left, Charlie said, Celestial Master, that Zhou Wen is just a punk with some luck. Don't tell me you really believe him and leave such an important matter to him? This concerns the fate of the Zhang clan, so please be careful. There's no harm in listening to more opinions. In the end, we will naturally use whoever's plan is better, Zhang Xiu said calmly. Seeing that Zhang Xiu had already made up his mind, Charlie and Moses didn't say anything else. When Zhang Chuanxiu saw Zhou Wen, he explained the situation in detail. He still trusted Zhou Wen. After all, not only had Zhou Wen seen the mask, but he also knew that there was a monster under the mask and Ba below. As for Charlie and Moses, they had only discovered the mask at the top. If they really wanted to give it a try, Zhang Chuanxiu was more willing to believe Zhou Wen. They only discovered the mask. Ignoring the fact that they can remove the mask, even if they can, the monster below is still there. It's useless to remove the mask. Zhou Wen paused for a moment and said to Zhang Chuanxiu with a solemn expression, Furthermore, I suspect that Ba below is actually a guardian. We don't know the relationship between the guardians. If they are enemies and Moses uses a guardian to attack the Fiend Tomb, I'm afraid it will cause huge trouble. Zhang Chuanxiu frowned when he heard that and asked, Are you sure that Ba is a guardian? I can't be sure. After all, I can only see a portion of it through my X-ray vision. However, it does look like a guardian, Zhou Wen said. If there's really such a possibility, we can't let Moses try no matter what. We can't take such a risk. Zhang Chuanxiu had already made up his mind. He pulled Zhou Wen and said, Follow me to the Celestial Master first. Try your best to fight for an opportunity. I'll help you from the side. All right. Zhou Wen agreed and followed Zhang Chuanxiu to Zhang Xiu's side. Greetings, Celestial Master. Zhou Wen bowed at Zhang Xiu. In the past, the Zhang family's hero king was the leader of the 6 heroes. Now, every Zhang family's celestial master had a very special status in the Federation. Even the senators of the 6 families had to be respectful in front of the celestial master, not daring to slight him. You are Yuji's friend. There's no need to stand on ceremony with me. I often hear Yuji mention you. Now, I can tell that you are indeed a young hero. Zhang Xiu sized up Zhou Wen and continued, I heard that you also have a way to eliminate the influence of the Fiend Tomb. Can you tell me in detail? My method is actually very simple. It's to dig open the Fiend Tomb and kill the dimensional creatures inside. Only then can I completely resolve the problem of the Fiend Tomb, Zhou Wen said. The moment that was said, not only did many members of the Zhang family frown, but Charlie said disdainfully, If we can dig open the Fiend Tomb, why would the Zhang family invite you over with their means and abilities? Zhang Xiu didn't directly deny Zhou Wen. All he did was look at him and say, Tell me, why must we dig open the Fiend Tomb? Zhou Wen said calmly, I have a penetrative vision skill. I can roughly tell that the Fiend Tomb is divided into 3 levels. The first level has a mask, the second level has a monster, and the third level has a creature guarded by the nobles. If I want to completely resolve the problem of the fiend tomb, I have to eliminate the mask on the first level and the monster on the second level. If I don't dig open the fiend tomb, I really don't have the ability to eliminate both. How laughable. The Zhang family has the power of the heavenly eye. Even the Zhang family can't see through the fiend tomb, but you can see it clearly. You even know that it's divided into 3 levels. Could it be that your penetrative vision is better than the Zhang family's heavenly eye? Could it be that you eavesdropped on our conversation and know that there's a mask in the fiend tomb? Are you using this information to scare us and profit from it? Charlie said with a sneer. The Celestial Master will tell if it's real or fake. Zhou didn't argue with Charlie. He turned to Zhang Xiao and said, Celestial Master, if I were to do it, I would have to dig open the fiend tomb. There's no other way. Chapter 850. Celestial Master, I don't think there's a need to waste any more time, right? It's naturally impossible to dig up the fiend tomb. From the looks of it, you can only choose between me and old Mr. Charlie, Moses said. After hearing Moses say that, Zhou suddenly said, Celestial Master, if I were you, I definitely wouldn't choose to use the power of a guardian. Zhou, what do you mean? Moses and the members of the family clan of gods glared at Zhou. Why? Zhang Xiao asked Zhou with interest. It's not convenient for me to explain the exact reason in public. I've already told Zhang Chuanqiu. I'll get him to explain it to you in private, Zhou said as he deliberately glanced at Moses. He originally had a better solution, but he chose the one that could easily infuriate Moses and the family clan of God. This was because he needed an excuse to kill giant God Sovereign. Now, Moses and the members of the family clan of gods looked at Zhou with unfriendly gazes. Zhang Chuanqiu used a secret message to convey Zhou Wen's reason to Zhang Xiao. After Zhang Xiao heard that, he looked at Zhou and asked, Are you sure about giant God Sovereign? I can't be sure, but if it were me, I wouldn't take such a risk, Zhou said. Celestial Master, please don't listen to his nonsense. I know my guardian best. There's definitely no problem, Moses explained. Although he didn't know what Zhou had said to the Zhang family, he knew that it definitely wasn't anything good. Please be patient. We need some time to discuss. Please wait for a moment. After Zhang Xiao said that, he got someone to lead the people from the 3 families out, leaving only the Zhang family to discuss. Zhou, do you dare accept my challenge? Moses asked coldly as he stared at Zhou. You are just relying on a guardian. It's nothing impressive. Why wouldn't I dare? Zhou asked arrogantly. Very good. After this matter is over, I'll definitely fight you. When the time comes, don't escape, Moses said with a sullen expression. I'm afraid you will be the one who escapes. Zhou remained arrogant. Moses didn't say anything else. After all, this was an important place for the Zhang family. It was impossible for him to fight Zhou here. It was useless to say anything now. All he could do was wait until he left. The Zhang family was having an intense discussion inside. Zhang Chuanqiu naturally recommended Zhou, but due to the ancestral Celestial Master's teachings, many elders in the Zhang family didn't agree to digging up the grave. In particular, Zhang Chuanqiu's uncle strongly objected. If we really want to dig up the grave, our Zhang family has many experts. Why do we need to borrow the help of outsiders? This was what most of the Zhang family members thought. The reason they were willing to pay the earth elemental beast and seek help was because they hoped to resolve the problem without touching the fiend tomb. Uncles, Zhou can see through the fiend tomb. Only he knows where we can dig and where we can't. Uncles should know better than me how dangerous the fiend tomb is. We can't take such a risk, Zhang Chuanqiu said. There are ways to avoid taking risk. Charlie and Moses's methods don't require opening the fiend tomb, so there's no risk at all. Even if it's really as Zhou said, there's a guardian below, and it's not convenient to use a guardian to bombard the fiend tomb, we can still choose Charlie. What's more, saying that Ba was a protector was not credible at all. When he first came, he couldn't tell anything wrong. Now that he's here again, he understands everything. It's unbelievable, Uncle Zhang said. Uncle. Zhang Chuanxiu wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Uncle Zhang. There's no need to say anything else. The ancestral teachings cannot be broken. The ancestral celestial master has already clearly said that if the fiend tomb is touched, our Zhang family will definitely be wiped out. No matter what, I don't agree to digging up the grave. Zhang Chuanxiu was helpless as well. No matter what he said, he couldn't move the elders of the Zhang family. After waiting for a while, the Zhang family finally finished their discussion. Zhang Xia walked out with the Zhang family and said to the three of them, "After our discussion, we've decided to ask Mr. Charlie to help us resolve the problem of the fiend tomb. If Mr. Charlie can't resolve the problem of the fiend tomb, we'll have to trouble the two of you to help." Celestial Master, that's a wise choice. Charlie smiled very gentlemanly, but there was an unconcealable smugness in his eyes. Moses and company glared at Zhouwen. Clearly, they believed that Zhouwen had obstructed them. Otherwise, they should have been the ones to obtain this opportunity. "Sorry, I've tried my best." Zhang Chuanxiu walked to Zhouwen's side and said apologetically. "It's fine. The Cape family might not succeed. Perhaps there's still a chance." Zhouwen felt that Charlie couldn't even see Ghost Hornless below. The chances of him resolving the problem of the fiend tomb were slim. Furthermore, if he wasn't careful, he might even lose his life there. After all, the abilities of the Ghoul Mask and Ghost Hornless were too strange. Even Zhouwen could be killed if he wasn't careful. It probably wouldn't be easy for old Charlie to return alive. As the two of them spoke, Uncle Zhang walked past them and glanced at Zhouwen. Then, he said to Zhang Chuanxiu, "Don't mention the grave digging again. As long as my old bones are still around, I can't let God harm our Zhang family." "Uncle." Zhang Chuanxiu wanted to say something, but Uncle Zhang had already waved his hand and left. "Don't mind it. Because of the ancestral celestial master's instructions, my uncle is only afraid that something will happen to the Zhang family. He has no intention of targeting you," Zhang Chuanxiu said helplessly to Zhouwen. Chapter 851. When Zhouwen saw this scene, he knew that Charlie was probably in trouble. The abilities of his book and cross were indeed somewhat powerful, but he didn't know that the mask itself wasn't the main point. Destroying the mask was useless. Instead, it might put him in danger. Indeed, after a commotion in the fiend tomb, grayish-white dust suddenly spewed out. When Charlie saw the dust, his expression changed slightly. The book and cross in his hand bloomed with light again, hoping to repel the dust. However, the dust was like smoke. When he repelled the smoke on one side, the other side swept up and sprayed Charlie's face. Everything happened too quickly. Even the Cape family didn't have the time to stop it. By the time they reacted, the dust had already condensed into a mask on Charlie's face. When the Cape family rushed forward to help Charlie, the cross in Charlie's hand emitted a shocking glow as it stabbed the two Cape family members who wanted to help him. The two of them were caught off guard. After being injured by Charlie, they fell onto the fiend's stone ground. Soon, their bodies turned into fiend stones. Instantly, everyone was horrified. Charlie, who was controlled by the Ghoul Mask, didn't care. He brandished the book and cross in his hand and charged at the humans on the stone platform. Zhang Chuanxiu suddenly attacked. His sword slashed out like a stream of light, instantly shattering the mask on Charlie's face. However, it didn't injure his face. The exquisiteness of his sword technique was truly astonishing. However, it was useless. The shattered mask quickly gathered together and transformed back into a mask that covered Charlie's face. Everyone fought Charlie, but they couldn't injure him. However, attacking the mask on his face was useless. Instantly, everyone fell into chaos. Finally, Zhang Xiao produced a talisman and pasted it on the ghoul mask, causing Charlie to stand there motionless. However, the mask couldn't be removed from his face. The Cape family thought of many solutions, but they failed to remove the mask. All they could do was seek Zhang Xiao's help. Zhang Xiao said, "My mythical ghost suppression talisman can only suppress it, but it can't completely destroy it. Furthermore, this mask is very strange. It's useless to shatter it. I can't do anything about it either. I can only think of other solutions." This outcome was naturally within Zhou Wen's expectations. The ghoul mask wasn't the main point. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible to kill it. All he could do was dig up the grave and destroy the face pattern beneath. The Zhang family cast their gazes at Moses, naturally hoping that he could remove the mask. However, Moses shook his head and said, "If I had attacked from the beginning and completely destroyed the mask, there might have been a chance. Now, the mask is already on Charlie's face. My guardian is too powerful. Even if a single strike can destroy the mask, Charlie won't be spared." The Zhang family and the Cape family were in a dilemma. No one could get rid of the mask on Charlie's face without harming him. However, if they did not get rid of the mask, the problem of the fiend tomb could not be resolved. Zhang Chuanxiu saw Zhou Wen standing by the side and watching everything happen with an abnormally calm expression. His heart stirred as he asked Zhou Wen, "Do you have a way to resolve the mask without harming Charlie?" As everyone fell silent, they looked at the two of them when they heard Zhang Chuanxiu's question. Zhou Wen answered, "Yes, but I'll still say the same thing. I'm not as capable as Charlie and company. If you want me to resolve the problem, you have to dig up the fiend tomb." "Why are you still spouting nonsense at a time like this? The mask has already been lured out. Why are you still digging up the fiend tomb?" Uncle Zhang said. As a conservative member of the Zhang family, he was most unwilling to dig up the fiend tomb. Zhou Wen was helpless as well. This was the result of unequal information. What was common sense to him was a mysterious and unknown power to the Zhang family. They were too afraid of the fiend tomb, afraid that the Zhang family would be wiped out once the fiend tomb was dug up. Therefore, they strongly opposed it. Uncle, Zhou Wen isn't someone who speaks without reason. He must have his reasons for saying that. Zhang Chuanxiu and Dugugo had seen Zhou Wen's strength outside Forbidden City and knew that he was extraordinary. Furthermore, back then, everyone believed that Zhou Wen and Old Master Xia were trapped in Forbidden City. No one had seen him come out, but they never expected him to return to Luoyang safely. Old Master Xia had disappeared. Zhang Chuanxiu knew that he couldn't do such a thing. The truth is right in front of us. What reason is there? Uncle Zhang said coldly. Celestial Master, the fiend tomb's influence on our Zhang family is getting worse. If we can't resolve it completely, I'm afraid that in a few years, our Zhang family will be wiped out even if there are no disasters. At this point, instead of sitting back and waiting for death, why don't we let Zhou Wen give it a try? I believe he can resolve the problem without alarming Ba. Celestial Master, please give him a chance. Also, give our Zhang family's descendants a chance, Zhang Chuanxiu said, as he bowed in front of Zhang Xiao. Chuanxiu, what are you doing? There's no need to dig up the fiend tomb to get rid of that mask. We are only worried about Charlie's life and death, which is why we are helpless. Uncle Zhang was immediately enraged. Now that things have come to this, I don't think I can hold back. If Celestial Master is willing to let my guardian take action, I guarantee that I can destroy the mask. However, I can't guarantee Charlie's life, Moses said from the side. Moses, how dare you? The Cape family glared at each other. Stop talking. After Zhang Xiao spoke, everyone fell silent and looked at him. Zhang Xiao was still the one in charge here. Zhou Wen, how confident are you? Zhang Xiao looked at Zhang Chuanxiu, who was bowing in front of him, and asked Zhou Wen. I was only 70% confident previously, but now that I've seen the mask's abilities, I'm 90% confident, Zhou Wen said. Do you need anything? Zhang Xiu asked again. No, one person is enough, Zhou Wen answered. Alright, let's do it. If we succeed, the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg will be yours, Zhang Xiu said with a nod. Celestial Master, we can't dig up the fiend tomb, Uncle Zhang said anxiously. Brother, I've already made up my mind on this matter. There's no need to say anything else, Zhang Xiu said calmly. Uncle Zhang stomped his feet in anger. Have you forgotten the ancestral Celestial Master's teachings? Digging up the fiend tomb is a calamity for our Zhang family. Zhou Wen, why aren't you doing it? Zhang Chuanxiu pretended not to hear his uncle's indignant words as he got up and pushed Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen no longer had any qualms as he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. With a boom, Tyrant Behemoth's majestic body landed in front of the fiend tomb. Tyrant Behemoth. That's actually Zhou Wen's companion beast. Apart from the Zhang family, who already knew about it, the other families were alarmed. After all, it was a powerful existence ranked 4th on the previous rankings. In fact, although Tyrant Behemoth was ranked 4th, it had never lost. Chapter 852. Under Zhou Wen's orders, Tyrant Behemoth activated absolute strength and slammed into the fiend tomb, digging it open. The Zhang family is finished. Uncle Zhang was alarmed, angry, and afraid. His face was pale. The other members of the Zhang family also wore nervous expressions. After all, the ancestral Celestial Master's instructions were there. It would be a lie to say that they weren't worried. Even Zhang Chuanxiu's palms were sweating. However, nothing strange happened when Tyrant Behemoth dug open the fiend tomb bit by bit. I originally thought that Tyrant Behemoth was a companion beast from the West District, but I never expected it to be in Zhou Wen's hands. The elder from the Ultimate Family clan looked at Tyrant Behemoth with envy. Anyone would want such a violent combat pet, but there weren't many violent combat pets of such level and quality in the entire Federation. Moses had been watching coldly from the sidelines. Although Tyrant Behemoth was powerful, it wasn't stronger than his Giant God Sovereign. Giant God Sovereign was also Strength type, and it had an extremely strong restraining effect on companion beasts of the same type. If Zhou Wen wanted to rely on Tyrant Behemoth to fight him, Moses would definitely make Zhou Wen suffer. Just as everyone had different thoughts, Tyrant Behemoth suddenly stopped digging and retreated a distance. The Zhang family was puzzled as to why Tyrant Behemoth had stopped digging when they suddenly saw Zhou Wen wave his hand as though something had flashed. There was a cracking sound in the fiend tomb. Before they could see what had happened, black blood spewed out like a fountain and splattered everywhere. Only then did everyone see that there was a rather abstract human face pattern in the excavated fiend tomb. There was a sword mark on the human face pattern. It was unknown how it had been slashed out, but black blood was spewing out. Crack. As the black blood spewed out, cracks appeared on the mask on Charlie's face. Furthermore, there were more and more cracks. When the black blood spewed out, the mask shattered and turned to dust. It wasn't just the mask on Charlie's face. Even the fiend faces on the fiend stones shattered. The people who had been petrified gradually recovered their bodies. Unfortunately, they were already dead. Even without the fiend petrification, it was impossible for them to be revived. The Zhang family was overjoyed when they saw this. Zhang Chuanxiu secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was also gambling. Thankfully, he had won this time. Fortunately, I didn't fail you. Zhou Wen didn't continue digging because if he continued digging, he would have to use Truth Listener when he reached Ghost Hornless. This was something he didn't wish to expose. To kill the ghoul mask, light concealment could be used to represent the invisibility cloak. However, the Ghost Hornless required Truth Listener to take action. The invisibility cloak was useless. Young friend, you saved our Zhang family from danger. I don't know how to thank you. Follow me to retrieve the Earth Elemental Beast Companion Egg. After Zhang Xiu said that, he said to Zhang Chuanxiu, take everyone back to rest. Don't be negligent. Yes, Zhang Chuanxiu replied. Zhang Xiu brought Zhou Wen back to Celestial Master Manor. After Zhou Wen took a seat, he said, "My young friend, you should have something to say, right?" Zhou Wen was slightly taken aback. He never expected Zhang Xiu to tell that he had something to say. Without any hesitation, he said, "I've already said that apart from Ba, there are two more dimensional creatures in the Fiend Tomb. Now only one is left. There's still one below. If we can't eliminate it, I'm afraid the Zhang family's problem can't be completely resolved." "Young friend, you didn't immediately take action. I believe you have some qualms?" Zhang Xiu said. "It's not difficult to eliminate that dimensional creature, but I need some special companion beasts. I don't want too many people to see my companion beasts, so I hope that you can allow me to head to the Fiend Tomb alone. If you're worried, you can watch from the side. I just hope that there won't be a third person present," Zhou Wen said. "This matter isn't difficult. There's no need for me to be present. I'll get Chuanxiu to accompany you later. Other than you and Chuanxiu, no one else will know about this matter. Even I won't ask." Zhang Xiu paused for a moment before saying, "However, there's something I hope you can help the Zhang family keep a secret." "Celestial Master, please speak," Zhou Wen said. "Since you can see through fiend patterns, it's very likely that Ba is a guardian." "I hope no one else will know that Ba is a guardian," Zhang Xiu said. Zhou Wen was slightly taken aback. He never expected Zhang Xiu to request this, but he still agreed. "I can guarantee that this matter will never spread from my mouth again." Zhang Xiu understood Zhou Wen's subtext and nodded. "That's good. If the Zhang family spreads it, it'll be the fate of the Zhang family." After Zhang Xiu called Zhang Chuanxiu over, he got him to accompany Zhou Wen to the Fiend Tomb again. After the two of them left, Uncle Zhang walked over. "Celestial Master, why are you doing this? Since we've already decided to dig up the Fiend Tomb, why don't our Zhang family do it ourselves? Why are we handing our fate to an outsider?" Zhang Xiu poured a cup of tea for him before slowly saying, "Brother, why has our Zhang family been able to prosper all these years? It's not because our companion beasts are more powerful than others, nor is it because our Zhang family is powerful enough. It's because we see further than others and think more than others. We take fewer detours than others. In this era, resources are indeed important, but the importance of information and knowledge is sometimes more important than resources. For example, Zhou Wen can see through the Fiend Tomb and know the information inside. If we were to do what he can, although we might succeed, we might have to pay a huge price. There's no need to do that." Zhang Xiu paused for a moment before continuing. "Besides, don't you think the earth elemental beast falling into the hands of someone who isn't from the 6 families is better than we expected?" Uncle Zhang was taken aback before saying, "That's right. However, Zhou Wen is really powerful. Even old Master Xia fell at his hands. Now that he has the earth elemental beast, I'm afraid that in the future, now that guardians have appeared, the future is unpredictable. However, do you still remember the last part of the ancestral celestial master's last words?" Zhang Xiu said with a strange expression. "You mean that we might have a chance?" Uncle Zhang didn't dare continue as though he was afraid of something. "Let's take it one step at a time. Our generation is already old and we don't have the chance to advance further. However, Chuanxiu and the others are different. Perhaps they still have hope," Zhang Xiu said indifferently. Zhou Wen and Zhang Chuanxiu arrived at the Fiend Tomb again. Zhang Chuanxiu brought the Celestial Master's decree and got the Zhang family members guarding the place to temporarily evacuate. "I'll leave this place to you. I'll return after the matter is done," Zhang Chuanxiu said as he left. "The Zhang family sure is decisive. They didn't leave a single person behind," Zhou Wen thought to himself. Such a decision wasn't something anyone could make. After all, it concerned the life and death of the family. No one would be at ease leaving it to an outsider, but the Zhang family had done so. Chapter 853. Zhouwen followed the steps and easily eliminated Ghost Hornless. When digging the fiend tomb, Zhouwen was very careful, afraid that he would alarm Goddess Ba below. Thankfully, nothing unexpected happened. After eliminating Ghost Hornless, Zhouwen used fiend stones to fill up the fiend tomb before meeting up with Zhang Chuanqiu. As for Zhang Chuanqiu, he had already prepared the earth elemental beast companion egg. When they met, he gave it to Zhouwen. "Aren't you afraid that I won't complete the mission?" Zhouwen said with a smile. "What's there to be afraid of? You can run, but the temple can't. Can you not return to Luoyang for the rest of your life?" Zhang Chuanqiu curled his lips. "Thankfully, I've already completed the mission," Zhouwen said. Zhang Chuanqiu thought for a moment and said, "You have to be careful of the other families, especially Moses. He won't let the matter rest easily." Zhouwen nodded. "I know. Let's not talk about anything else. If you need anything from my Zhang family, feel free to ask. If there's a need, you can stay at Celestial Master Manor for a year or so," Zhang Chuanqiu said with a smile. "There's no need for that. I still have some matters to attend to. After this is over, I plan on returning. Can you help me arrange for me to bid farewell to Yuji?" Zhouwen said. "She's waiting for you at Celestial Master Manor." I never expected the earth elemental beast to fall into Zhouwen's hands. "Your Cape family has worked for nothing," Moses said to Charlie with a smile in the courtyard. "Didn't your family clan of gods also end up empty-handed?" Charlie's face was somewhat pale. Although he had escaped death, he had suffered some internal injuries due to being controlled by the ghoul mass. Moses smiled and said, "That might not be the case. To incubate a mythical companion egg, we definitely have to rely on external forces. I believe it's impossible for Zhouwen to incubate the earth elemental beast companion egg so quickly. We still have a chance to take it back." "You want to snatch the earth elemental beast companion egg?" Charlie asked Moses. "Zhouwen previously agreed to fight me. I openly won the earth elemental beast companion egg. How can this be considered snatching?" Moses said indifferently. "Humph, then why did you come here to tell me this?" Charlie said thoughtfully. "I'm afraid that Zhouwen won't dare to accept the challenge, or flee. That's why I want to ask you to help me. If Zhouwen wishes to flee or doesn't dare to accept the challenge, help me stop him. With your book of prophecy, he won't be able to escape even if he has wings," Moses said. "Why should I help you?" Charlie asked coldly. No, you're not helping me, you're helping yourself. Even if you can track him, are you confident of defeating Tyrant Behemoth? As for me, I can defeat Tyrant Behemoth. If we work together, we can definitely snatch back the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. When the time comes, our families will explore the founding Emperor tomb together and split the benefits equally. What do you think?" Moses said. "Humph, you make it sound nice. There's only one Earth Elemental Beast. Without it, we can't enter the founding Emperor tomb. How can we cooperate?" Charlie naturally didn't believe Moses's nonsense. "In order to express my sincerity, after snatching back the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg, your Cape family will be in charge of incubating it. You should believe me this way, right?" Moses said with a smile. "Are you serious?" Charlie looked at Moses in disbelief. Without the Earth Elemental Beast, they couldn't enter the founding Emperor tomb. Back then, the 6 heroes had nearly fallen out because of the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. Now, Moses was willing to give it up. It left him in disbelief. "Our families are both in the West District. Although there will be occasional skirmishes, we are ultimately on the same side. The founding Emperor tomb is an important dimensional zone in the East District. If we take action across zones, I'm afraid the Xia and Zhang families won't sit idly by. Only by working together can we bring back everything inside. Otherwise, it's very likely that the items will be taken out and benefit the Zhang and Xia families. I'm not sure if the Xia family will participate, but the Zhang family has taken the initiative to give the Earth Elemental Beast away. Do you think they are so kind as to give up on the items in the founding emperor tomb? Moses said. Charlie thought for a moment and nodded. What you said makes sense. We're willing to cooperate, but the premise is that the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg has to be incubated by someone from our family. Of course. I've already said that the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg is yours, but when splitting the items we have to split it evenly, Moses said. Deal. Charles extended his palm. While they were discussing how to snatch back the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg, Zhou was already prepared to incubate it. Typical epic humans needed external help to incubate a mythical companion egg. They needed a lot of preparation in the early stages. However, Zhou didn't need it at all. He didn't even need Slaughterer's infinite essence energy. The Tao Sutra and the First Order of Chaos could help him incubate a mythical companion egg. Earth Elemental Beast, Mythical Life Providence, Earth Life Soul, Essence of Earth Wheel of Destiny, Earth of the 5 Element Strength, 80 Speed, 80 Constitution, 80 Essence Energy, 80 Talent Skill, Earth Escape Companion Form, Mount. From the looks of it, the Earth Elemental Beast is a pure Mount-type companion beast. It doesn't have any special offensive skills, but just being an Earth Escape Mount is already considered an excellent grade 1. After Zhou looked at its stats, he hatched it. Soon, a companion beast that looked like a pangolin but was as large as a dinosaur appeared in front of Zhou. Zhou gave it a try in-game and realized that the Earth Elemental Beast lived up to its reputation. Although it didn't have any offensive skills, the Earth Escape skill could be continuously activated as long as he had essence energy. The interval between skills was very short. When the Earth Elemental Beast's essence energy was full, it could instantly bring Zhou over 50 kilometers. It was truly an escape weapon. It was equally powerful when used for assassination. Amidst the army, he arrived in front of the enemy's commander with Earth Escape and killed him with one strike. Then, he easily escaped through Earth Escape. No matter how many enemies there were, they couldn't stop the Earth Elemental Beast. As long as I'm on land, I won't have to be afraid of being besieged in the future. Zhou was delighted. However, on careful thought, he realized that there were 4 similar mounts: metal, wood, water, and fire. If he could obtain them all, he wondered if he could use the phone's function to fuse them into one. While Zhou was still studying the use of the Earth Elemental Beast, Moses sent someone to deliver a battle invitation. He wanted to have a fair duel with Zhou to determine who was better. After reading the battle invitation, Zhou rejected it without hesitation. Firstly, it was because he didn't know what abilities Giant God Sovereign had. Secondly, he didn't need to give Moses an excuse to openly snatch the Earth Elemental Beast. If Moses wasn't willing to give up the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg, he could only secretly snatch it. When that happened, Zhou would stand on the moral high ground. No matter what he did to Moses or what methods he used, no one could criticize him. Zhou wasn't afraid of being criticized, but there was no need for him to take the risk of fighting Giant God Sovereign, who he didn't understand. If Giant God Sovereign was comparable to Ant City's guardian, it would be too dangerous. Sogu. Then what are we waiting for? Before he returns to Luoyang, we have to stop him and snatch the companion egg back, Moses said. Not only do I want the companion egg, but I also want his life. A cold glint flashed in Charlie's eyes. The grudge between Zhou and the Cape family naturally wouldn't be resolved just because Zhou shattered the ghoul mask on his face. He also wouldn't thank Zhou for saving his life. Now that the two clans had set out together, the originally bustling Longhu town seemed to have become a lot quieter. Celestial Master, Zhou has already left Dragon Tiger Town. Moses and Charlie have led men in pursuit, a Zhang family intelligence agent reported to Zhang Xiao. Should we send people over and wait for an opportunity to snatch back the Earth Elemental Beast? If we can snatch it back this time, we can stop others from knowing that the earth elemental beast is in our Zhang family. Uncle Zhang's eyes lit up. Zhang Chuanxiu hadn't returned to report that Zhou Wen had hatched the earth elemental beast, so he didn't know about it. There's no need. Moses and the others aren't Zhou Wen's match, Zhang Xiu said indifferently. That might not be the case, right? After all, Moses has a guardian. His strength can't be underestimated. Coupled with Charlie's book of prophecy, Zhou Wen probably won't be able to escape so easily. Uncle Zhang didn't think so, Zhang Xiu said. So what if he's a guardian? What kind of figure is old Master Xia? Even he can't kill Zhou Wen, much less Moses, who only relies on a guardian. I'm afraid they will be doomed this time. Although Uncle Zhang didn't quite believe Zhang Xiu's judgment, he couldn't refute him. After all, Zhang Xiu's knowledge and judgment were far above his. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let Zhang Xiu, who was the second son in the family, take over the position of celestial master and not him, the eldest. Zhou Wen ran all the way. He didn't really want to escape, but he wanted to create the illusion that he was running for his life. Moses and company kept chasing after Zhou Wen. With Charlie's book of prophecy to track Zhou Wen's location, they got closer and closer. That bastard Zhou Wen actually runs so fast. We have to speed up, Charlie said through gritted teeth. They had chased for hundreds of kilometers, but they still hadn't caught up to Zhou Wen. It's just a cornered beast struggle. He can't escape. Boom! Just as Moses said that, a person on his left suddenly bumped into a tree. The tree exploded, sending the person flying. Several people nearby were affected. What's going on? Moses hurriedly went to check on the man's injuries and saw that he was only half dead. It's a life-bashing type essence energy skill. It must have been left behind by that bastard Zhou Wen, Charlie said as he observed the destroyed tree. Damn it. Bei, stay behind and take care of them. Everyone else, continue chasing with me. Chapter 855. In the air, they didn't need to be afraid of skills like Life Blast. Moses and company sped up and chased after him, but when Charlie predicted Zhou Wen's location again, he realized that Zhou Wen was behind them. No good. Charlie and Moses's expressions changed drastically. This was because Zhou Wen's current location seemed to be where they had separated from the others. Quick, go back. After Moses rushed back with his men, he discovered the corpses of his companions not far from where they had separated. They had been blown to pieces, and there were almost no complete corpses. The surrounding forest was also in a mess. Clearly, a powerful explosion had occurred. It wasn't an ordinary life blast. The self-destruction of ordinary trees didn't have such great power. Zhou Wen, I'll tear you to pieces. Moses's expression was gloomy as he urged Charlie to continue tracking Zhou Wen. This time, Moses directly summoned Giant God Sovereign. After he fused with Giant God Sovereign, the armor formed by Giant God Sovereign was still as huge. As for Moses, he was in Giant God Sovereign's body as the core existence of Giant God Sovereign's armor. Moses, who was like a giant, grabbed Charlie. He did not care if there were any life blast items nearby and directly charged over. Indeed, large swathes of trees and grass exploded, but it was useless against the giant armor formed by Giant God Sovereign. It couldn't injure it at all. When Moses ran to the nearby water, tadpole-like things suddenly rushed out of the water. The tadpoles constantly exploded, forming a terrifying might. However, that kind of power was unable to injure Moses. The Giant God's sovereign armor blocked it. These are the things that killed them. From the tadpoles' explosion patterns, Moses could tell that these were the things that had killed their companions. Zhou Wen, your tricks are useless in front of absolute strength. Come out and die, Moses said sinisterly. Charlie had already predicted that Zhou Wen was less than 5 kilometers away and could definitely hear his voice. Zhou Wen had already seen everything clearly with Truth Listener. He thought to himself, from the looks of it, Giant God Sovereign should be a strength type and defense type guardian. Tyrant Behemoth is also of the same type. It shouldn't be weaker than Giant God Sovereign. However, Moses is still so confident despite knowing that Tyrant Behemoth is in my hands. He probably has a way to restrain Tyrant Behemoth. Zhou Wen's figure flashed as he continued pulling away from Moses and company. However, after Moses put on the Giant God Sovereign armor, his speed was just too fast. Not only did Zhou Wen fail to pull away, but he was also pulled closer. Zhou Wen didn't mind. As he fled, he summoned a large number of musical note sprites and the golden harp. Now, there were tens of thousands of musical note sprites. Together with the golden harp's power, the sound waves produced were enough to kill an epic expert. Most importantly, it was very difficult for sound wave attacks to be completely blocked by armor. No matter how strong the defense of the Giant God Sovereign armor was, it could still be penetrated and killed by the sound wave. Moses frantically chased after them with Charlie. Suddenly, he saw a large number of elven musical notes in front of him and a golden harp. Before he could react, the golden harp suddenly sounded. Buzz! With the sound of the golden harp, all the elven notes rang out. The sound waves they emitted were like a tidal wave that surged towards Moses. Ah! The sound waves failed to break through the Giant God Sovereign armor, but Charlie, who was in Moses's hand, bled from his 7 orifices. His book of prophecy and cross couldn't defend against sound wave attack. Moses was alarmed. A golden barrier lit up on the Giant God's sovereign armor, protecting Charlie inside. Finally, Charlie had a way out. The sound wave attacks couldn't penetrate the barrier and were blocked outside. Just as Moses was about to destroy the musical note sprites and harp, he realized that the musical note sprites and harp that filled the sky had vanished. Moses rushed over at full speed, but he didn't find Zhou Wen. Where did Zhou Wen escape to? Moses asked Charlie. Charlie wiped the blood off his face and used the book of prophecy to predict Zhou Wen's location again. Impossible! He's right here. Charlie's eyes widened in disbelief when he saw the result of the prediction. At that moment, Zhou Wen's figure appeared above Moses out of thin air. The golden sword in his hand slashed at the golden barrier with an indestructible golden sword beam. Clang! The golden barrier was sliced open by 3 feet, but Zhou Wen's sword couldn't slash any further. The barrier wasn't as simple as a shell. It seemed corporeal inside. If not for the golden overlord's sword having the augmentation of ever victorious and unstoppable, it would have been impossible for it to slice open 3 feet. You've finally appeared. Moses wasn't alarmed but delighted. He controlled the Giant God's sovereign armor and threw a punch at Zhou Wen in midair. However, Zhou Wen's figure flashed in midair and suddenly vanished. Moses originally imagined that Zhou Wen was fast and had moved elsewhere, but when he scanned his surroundings, he didn't see Zhou Wen. Damn it, why are all this fellow's skills so wretched? Where did he go? Quickly find him, Moses said to Charlie through gritted teeth. Charlie used the book of prophecy to predict again, but he realized that Zhou Wen was already several kilometers away. He pointed in shock and anger and said, "He's over there. Don't let him escape." Moses relied on the nearly invincible ability of the Giant God's sovereign armor. He didn't care if there was an ambush as he charged forward crazily. The tall trees were knocked away by the Giant God's sovereign armor like he was a huge humanoid machine. Its defense can be compared to Tyrant Behemoth after activating absolute strength, but its strength is much weaker. However, in that case, it shouldn't be able to defeat Tyrant Behemoth. What kind of strength does Giant God Sovereign have to make Moses so confident? Zhou Wen thought of all sorts of possibilities. From the looks of it, I can only let Tyrant Behemoth give it a try. When Zhou Wen saw Moses chasing after him, he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. Not daring to be careless, Zhou Wen got Tyrant Behemoth to activate absolute strength before charging at the charging Moses. Nice one. Moses finally had a target. Instead of slowing down, he increased his speed as he charged at Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth also gathered its strength and threw a punch at Moses, who was wearing the giant god's sovereign armor. A ruthless glint flashed in Moses's eyes. He didn't swing his fist to meet it. Instead, he used the giant god's sovereign armor with a golden barrier to slam into Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth's fist struck the golden barrier, but it failed to send Moses retreating. Instead, it was sent flying as its fist bones shattered. Rebound barrier. With his experience, Zhou immediately saw through it. Tyrant Behemoth wasn't sent retreating by giant god sovereign, but defeated by its own strength and giant god sovereign's strength. Earth Elemental Beast. He actually hatched an Earth Elemental Beast. How is this possible? Charlie shouted indignantly. No matter how strong giant god sovereign was, it was useless if he couldn't catch up to the Earth Elemental Beast. It was already impossible to kill Zhou today, much less snatch the Earth Elemental Beast companion egg. Even if he killed Zhou, the companion beast that had already hatched would vanish with its master. Moses was also stunned. He didn't expect such an outcome. Count yourself lucky. Moses wanted to retreat when he saw that the situation was hopeless. Who said you can leave? Zhou rode on the Earth Elemental Beast's back and blocked Moses's path. If you didn't have the Earth Elemental Beast to escape, you would have long been killed by me. How dare you say such words in front of me? Moses said coldly as he walked towards Zhou, hoping to stomp him and the Earth Elemental Beast to death. However, Zhou remained unmoved as he summoned Tyrant Behemoth. At the same time, he fed Tyrant Behemoth the rejuvenation pills he had recently obtained to it, allowing its injured fist to quickly heal. What's the point of summoning a loser? No matter how many times he comes, he will just be sending himself to his death, Moses said. Zhou didn't say a word as he continued summoning. He summoned Truth Listener, who had shattered 2 earrings. It descended like a ferocious beast as it glared at Moses. Is it another strength-type companion beast? It doesn't matter. Attack together. Moses didn't care. Zhou continued summoning and summoned the great Might Vajra Bull and Torch Dragon. The bull and dragon surrounded Moses. That's Torch Dragon. That's Torch Dragon from the Zhuolu Temple. Charlie recognized Torch Dragon and his expression changed drastically. Moses's expression turned nasty. Zhou had actually summoned 5 mythical companion beasts alone. This was very rare among the 6 families. No matter how many companion beasts you summon, it's all the same to my giant god sovereign. If you don't break through my defense, you will ultimately be defeated. Although Moses said that, he was no longer confident. However, Zhou ignored him and continued summoning companion beasts. The Golden Overlord's sword and Golden Battle God halberd appeared beside him, floating in the air. At the same time, the mythical Kuan Long and Zhen Long appeared. The 2 black dragons also joined the battlefield, surrounding Moses in the middle. That's the Metalwork Temple's Golden Battle God Temple, the Zhuolu Underground Sea's Black Dragon. How is it possible? How can he have so many mythical companion beasts? Charlie's voice was already trembling. He had never seen a person have so many mythical companion beasts. Even though the 6 families had many more mythical companion beasts than before in recent years, it was already not bad for the core upper echelons to have one. Only top-notch figures could have 2 or 3 mythical companion beasts. Those with 5 or 6 mythical companion beasts were already considered the top combat strength in the family. They were the true pillars of the family. Now, Zhou had summoned more than 10 mythical companion beasts alone. Furthermore, they included top terrifying existences like Tyrant Behemoth and Torch Dragon. How could Charlie not be alarmed? At that moment, Moses cursed in his heart. He never imagined that Zhou, who wasn't even considered a direct descendant of the Yin family, would have so many mythical pets. Mythical companion beasts were summoned as though they were free. Moses was already regretting it. Although Giant God Sovereign's strength was powerful and its defense was almost invincible, who could guarantee that none of Zhou Wen's companion beasts could restrain Giant God Sovereign? According to what Moses knew, the power of Torch Dragon's bright torch vision world could devour all living beings. Giant God Sovereign might not be able to withstand it. It's useless. No matter how many companion beasts you have, it's ultimately just a joke if you can't break through Giant God Sovereign's defense. Moses's tone was no longer as confident as before. Is that so? Zhou finally spoke. At the same time, he summoned two companion beasts. Charlie and Moses didn't know these two companion beasts, but from the looks of the two companion beasts, they were undoubtedly at the mythical stage. Zhou summoned Dr. Darkness, an explosive fiend man. Of course, if you can break through Giant God Sovereign's defense, why would you need to summon so many mythical companion beasts? Moses seemed to be speaking to Zhou, but also to himself. Soon, you will know what's the use of so many mythical companion beasts. Zhou waved his palm, and the terrifying mythical companion beast army charged at Giant God Sovereign. Moses felt his scalp tingle when he saw so many terrifying mythical companion beasts rush over, but he had no choice but to bite the bullet and face the battle. However, how could a single Giant God Sovereign deal with so many mythical companion beasts? Although Tyrant Behemoth and company couldn't break through Giant God Sovereign's defense, it didn't stop them from rushing forward to hold down Moses, who was wearing Giant God Sovereign's armor. Tyrant Behemoth and Truth Listener each held down an arm. The two black dragons each pulled a leg. Torch Dragon wrapped around its neck and knocked Giant God Sovereign down. Giant God Sovereign only had powerful defense, but in terms of strength, he was inferior to Tyrant Behemoth. He had no way of resisting so many mythical creatures at the same time. The great Might Vajra Bull stepped on his chest with its hoof as the Golden Overlord sword and Golden Battle God halberd stabbed at his body. Although they failed to pierce through the barrier, they pressed him to the ground. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. Charlie fell to the ground. Moses couldn't care less about him. He stood up and wanted to run, but he saw a scalpel suddenly appear and slash his throat. Dr. Darkness elegantly walked past him without looking back as he walked back to Zhou side. Charlie covered his neck in horror, but blood kept flowing out from between his fingers. He widened his eyes and opened his mouth to say something, but only blood spewed out. Plop! Charlie's body fell to the ground dead. What a pity, Zhou said indifferently when he saw that the dead man tree didn't react. Zhou, it's useless no matter how many mythical companion beasts you have. You can't break through my defense. You can't injure me. Moses was suppressed by so many mythical companion beasts, but he wasn't injured. Although he couldn't move, he still roared. Why should I break through your defense? As Zhou spoke, Explosive Fiend Man had already walked over. Explosive Fiend Man, whose eyes flickered with an evil glint, pressed his palm on Giant God Sovereign's barrier, leaving strange marks on it that gradually covered every corner of the barrier. The time bomb skill could only be used on objects that couldn't resist. It was basically impossible to use it on a guardian like Giant God Sovereign, but now Giant God Sovereign couldn't even move. What are you trying to do? Moses's face had already turned pale, and his eyes were filled with horror. Although he didn't know what the marks were for, he knew that something was amiss. Nothing. I'm just in a good mood. I want to set off fireworks to celebrate, Zhou said indifferently. Let me go. You bastard. Moses struggled with all his might. He already felt that something was amiss. Even Giant God Sovereign was struggling to escape as though he was terrified. However, it was useless. Under the suppression of so many terrifying mythical creatures, even Giant God Sovereign, who had a guardian body, couldn't escape. After all, it hadn't been long since it broke out of its cocoon. Although it was strong, it hadn't transformed into its terror form, so it didn't have overwhelming strength. More and more marks appeared on the golden barrier. They emitted a dangerous purple fluorescence that covered the entire barrier like a spider web. Finally, Zhou unsummoned all his companion beasts and quickly retreated. No. Moses finally regained his freedom. His first reaction was to take off the giant god sovereign armor, but it was already too late. Explosive Fiend Man snapped his fingers and there was a bang. Like a hydrogen bomb explosion, a golden sun rapidly expanded its radiation range with Moses at the center. Everything nearby that was devoured was instantly reduced to ashes. Chapter 857. As Giant God Sovereign's strongest barrier had been detonated by Explosive Fiend Man, the powerful force didn't even give Moses a chance to scream before he was reduced to ashes. Giant God Sovereign's body also exploded. With Giant God Sovereign's death, Zhou felt a strange force enter his body, prompting Slaughterer to evolve again. I'm finally going to evolve into a perfect body. Zhou heaved a long sigh of relief. He had killed several guardians. If he didn't evolve, Zhou didn't know where to find guardians to kill. Slaughterer, which enveloped Zhou's body, had always been an invisible existence. After advancing to an evolved body, Zhou could vaguely sense its existence and take the initiative to drive it. However, Zhou still knew very little about it. It was only limited to using immortal slaying to drive Slaughterer. This evolution gradually revealed the form of the Slaughterer. Although it was only a hazy silhouette, like a silhouette, it was many times stronger than before, when it couldn't be seen or touched. As the shadow gradually appeared, Zhou realized that this shadow was a little familiar, as though he had seen it somewhere before. He couldn't see its facial features or figure, but the aura seemed very familiar. Is it the woman in my hallucination? Zhou suddenly recalled where he had seen this aura. The woman who defied the heavens and killed immortals and was worshipped by all races seemed to have this aura. When the evolution was completed, Zhou could only see a silhouette. Slaughtereur's appearance hadn't completely appeared, nor had it condensed a corporeal body. Zhou looked at the information in-game and realized that Slaughterer had indeed advanced to a perfect body. However, its name and introduction hadn't changed. The only thing that made Zhou feel that Slaughterer had indeed grown was that he could finally maintain contact with Slaughterer. He still had to slowly experiment to know its other abilities. That's it? Is this the final appearance of Slaughterer Life Soul? Zhou looked at the projection in disbelief. Slaughtereur's final appearance was a little too abstract. Although Zhou wasn't willing to believe it, it was the truth. Perfect body was the final form of a life soul. It couldn't be changed anymore. After cleaning the battlefield, Zhou rode the earth elemental beast with Yer again. This time, he wasn't in a hurry, but his speed wasn't slow. Furthermore, the path he took wasn't the path back to Luoyang. Zhou didn't plan on returning to Luoyang now. He wanted to circle around and walk through the safer human zones so that fine dust could advance. After walking for less than 2 days, the speck of dust began to evolve. The speck of dust planet actually began to burn like a small sun, radiating a strange light. Although he didn't know if it had any other uses, the stat augmentation that fine dust gave him was much stronger than before. Glimmer, evolved body. The evolution of this sky-stealing, sun-shifting art is indeed easy. If I walk more, it shouldn't be difficult for me to reach a perfect body. However, that civilized country requires a large amount of spatial teleportation to evolve. What should I do? Zhou couldn't think of a good solution. The Zhang family's mystic bird could quickly teleport, but the Zhang family had already hatched it. It was impossible for them to transfer it to Zhou, and Zhou didn't have enough benefits to move them. I'll take it one step at a time. Zhou didn't idle on the way. He was studying the Demon God catalog, hoping to figure out what kind of essence energy art it was and how he could condense a life providence and life soul. It wasn't difficult to condense a life providence. Combining an essence energy art and one's talent, one should be able to succeed as long as one's perception was sufficient. However, a life soul needed a foundation. Typically, one needed a drop of a guardian's blood as a foundation. However, the guardian's stats had to match the demon god catalog. I wonder if the Thearcha's blood can be used as the foundation of the demon god catalog, Zhou thought to himself. Up to now, Zhou still couldn't figure out what kind of existence the Tharch was. He didn't know if she was a dimensional creature or a guardian, or perhaps neither. However, the Tharch was trapped in Chess Mountain and the demon god catalog was obtained there. The possibility of the two being compatible was naturally higher. It probably won't be that easy to obtain a drop of blood essence from the Tharch, but it's not completely impossible. Compared to the guardians who have to fight to obtain the blood, the Tharch should be negotiable. However, I don't know what price I have to pay. Zhou didn't think too much about it. He wanted to condense the demon god catalog's life providence first. When Zhou walked, he only studied it and didn't practice it. This was because if he switched to another essence energy art, Glimmer wouldn't be able to obtain energy. When he stopped to gather information, he used his thoughts and insights on the demon god catalog. In just a few days, he had obtained a huge improvement and condensed a life providence. Life providence. Demon bloodline Zhou felt that his basic stats were greatly augmented when he used the demon bloodline. Among all the life providences, the demon bloodline's augmentation to his physical stats was the strongest. From the looks of it, this demon god catalog is very likely an essence energy art that corresponds to constitution. The other essence energy art that corresponds to constitution is the small perfection of wisdom. Its supreme Hell King life soul is already a perfect body. If I advance the demon god catalog life soul to a perfect body, wouldn't my constitution reach 41 points? Zhou was vexed about how he could obtain the guardian's blood that corresponded to the demon god catalog to condense a life soul. The Tharch, are you interested in making a deal? Zhou planned on probing the Thearcha's intentions. If he could obtain a drop of her blood, he could give it a try. How rare. You actually took the initiative to make a deal with me. Aren't you afraid of me to death and have been hiding from me? The Tharch replied in a teasing tone. I'm not hiding from you. I'm just too busy and don't have the time. Otherwise, I would have gone to Chess Mountain to visit you, Zhou said casually. Alright, come on. I'll wait for you, the Tharch said. I'm near the South District now. I really can't return. When I return, I'll definitely visit you. Zhou then sent another message. Are you interested in the deal I mentioned? What do you want? The Tharch asked straightforwardly. I want a drop of your blood essence. Zhou gritted his teeth and sent the message. He was still somewhat uneasy, unsure if the Tharch would fall out with him. Chapter 858. Sure. The message from the Tharch made Zhou overjoyed. What do you want? I'll exchange it with you, Zhou hurriedly said. Don't you want to see me? Then come. If you come to see me, I'll give you a drop of blood essence. I don't want anything else, the Tharch replied. Zhou immediately felt depressed. He had only said it casually. He really didn't dare go to Chess Mountain to see the Tharch. I really can't return now. Can I exchange it with something else? There are a lot of new and interesting things here. Shall I send some to you? Otherwise, I'll buy you any experimental equipment or equipment you want, Zhou said. I don't want anything. If you come, there will be blood essence. If you don't come, there will be nothing. The Thearcha's reply left Zhou somewhat helpless. Then let's talk when I return. I can't fly back now. Zhou replied before switching off his phone. Typically speaking, when guardians are in the cocoon, their bodies are filled with blood essence. When they come out of the cocoon, the blood essence will have already fused with their bodies. It won't be that easy to obtain blood essence again. Perhaps the Thearcha's blood essence isn't suitable. After some thought, Zhou felt that it was best not to go to Chess Mountain. Since it's the Fey God catalog, the 9 black dragons are the Fey dragons. The protector they're guarding might be compatible with the Fey God catalog. Zhou opened the game and ran to the underground sea to obtain a drop of Guardian's blood. However, it was useless. The demon god catalog couldn't absorb it. He went to Ant City to try again, but the outcome was the same. The blood essence of the two guardians was useless against the demon god catalog. However, this also meant that the demon god catalog wasn't of the essence energy attribute. From the looks of it, this path doesn't work. Zhou could only think of other solutions to see if he could find other guardians that hadn't broken out of their cocoons. Ding. As most of his life souls and primordial energy arts had reached a bottleneck, all Zhou could do was game and grind dungeons. This time, when he grinded the endless sea of stars, he had finished grinding the southern vermilion bird's 7 mansions. The 7 primordial energy skills were the same as the eastern Sangdong 7 mansions, fused into one primordial energy skill. When used, a vermilion bird's shadow would surround him. Just like the eastern Sangdong 7 mansions, it was an primordial energy shield type skill. The primordial energy skill's level didn't increase. Could it be that I really have to gather all 28 lunar mansion skills to reveal its true power? Zhou had no choice but to continue grinding. The north's black tortoise 7 mansions and the west's white tiger 7 mansions each lacked a skill, making them especially difficult to grind. Zhou had no idea how many times he had grinded them, but he failed to obtain them. Zhou deliberately grinded many more times. Perhaps it was because of his luck. He managed to collect all 7 primordial energy skills of the western white tiger's 7 mansions. The primordial energy skill with 7 combined skills was the same as Azure Dragon and Vermilion Bird. It was a protective primordial energy skill, and its level didn't increase. Zhou made up his mind and tried his best to grind the endless sea of stars again and again. He insisted on grinding the last skill and wanted to see what would happen after he gathered all 28 lunar mansion skills. However, after grinding for nearly 10 days and dripping his blood to revive countless times, Zhou still failed to obtain the last lunar mansion skill. Thankfully, during this period, Zhou obtained another demon blood true dragon companion egg. Its stats were almost identical to the previous 2, but this one was a Qian dragon. Of the 9 demon blood true dragons, Zhou already had Qian, Kuan, and Zhen. However, the 3 black dragons couldn't fuse. No matter how they matched, it would indicate that they lacked a main body. What the hell is this main body? Could it be that the demon blood true dragon in the Wu Dragon Pearl is the main body of these 9 black dragons? Zhou guessed. However, it was useless no matter how he guessed if he couldn't obtain a Wu Dragon companion egg. Every time Zhou refreshed the dungeon, he would grind the baby tiger in passing. However, after grinding for so long, no companion eggs dropped. It was the same for some mythical creatures. It was very difficult for companion eggs to drop. Even if Qiongqi is the same as Torch Dragon, a companion beast with only one attribute, Qiongqi should have dropped one after grinding so many times, right? Or could it be that the way I grinded Qiongqi is wrong? Just like Medusa, Qiongqi needs a special method to drop a companion egg? After some thought, Zhou thought of a possibility. Could it be that someone with a ferocious life providence needs to kill Qiongqi before it drops a companion egg? With this possibility in mind, Zhou planned on giving it a try. The fiend-armored tiger soul general's life providence was extremely ferocious. However, it was still at the epic stage, so it was definitely unrealistic for it to kill Qiongqi. Thankfully, Zhou didn't have much else, but he had enough mythical companion beasts. He summoned a mythical pet legion and rushed into the Qiongqi temple. He surrounded Qiongqi and beat it up until it was on its last breath. Then, the fiend-armored tiger soul general rushed over and struck again. After more than half an hour, it killed Qiongqi, who was on its last breath. Ding. Killed mythical creature, Qiongqi. Discovered companion egg. Will this really work? Zhouwen's mouth gaped open for a long time. He had only given it a try on a whim, but to his surprise, it really worked. If I had known this would happen, I would have dropped Qiongqi a long time ago. Why would I need to wait so long? Zhou sighed. Brute force was sometimes useless. Intelligence was the most important thing. Qiongqi, mythical, evolvable, life providence, punishes good and promotes evil life soul, partners with evil wheel of destiny, ferocious and evil strength, 81 speed, 81 constitution, 81 essence energy, 81 talent skill, evil acts like the wind, innumerable evils, devouring flesh, badlands companion form, mount, a top-notch mythical mount. Zhou was delighted at first, but when he carefully looked at Qiongqi's skills and various abilities, his face darkened. This thing was a master that bullied the weak and feared the strong. When encountering evil people, due to the effects of the partners with evil life soul, not only would its stats be weakened, even its skills would be weakened. However, when it fought good people, it was ferocious. When it did good deeds, its stats would plummet. When it did evil, all its stats would increase greatly. It was an oddity. The skill that Zhou couldn't stand the most was barren hills and rivers. This skill was a passive skill that didn't have any lethality. Its only use was that wherever it was, it would cause the local feng shui to deteriorate, making people poor and evil. As its owner, he was naturally the first to bear the brunt. Sooner or later, he would become extremely poor and hungry, unable to even eat. If I had known it was such a thing, why would I have dropped it? Zhou was at a loss whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Qiongqi's companion egg. Incubate it. This thing was too evil. If he didn't incubate it, it was a top-notch mount companion beast after all. In terms of combat strength, it was also top-notch. It would be a pity to throw it away. Zhou looked at the companion egg with an uncertain expression. He was momentarily at a loss. Chapter 859. After hesitating for a long time, Zhou still couldn't make up his mind to hatch it. He first used the companion egg to match it with his pet. In fact, Zhou already wanted to throw it away. None of its skills and abilities made Zhou feel that they were particularly useful. They all had all sorts of flaws. The only thing that was more impressive about it was that it was especially ferocious when doing bad things. It was especially impressive when dealing with good people. If Zhou was a devil, Qiongqi would be an excellent grade monster apart from rough hills and wild waters. It could unleash extremely powerful combat strength. The problem was that Zhou didn't like to do bad things at all, nor did he plan on killing good people. With such a thing and the risk of being so poor that he had nothing to eat, Zhou really didn't want to hatch it. After watching for a while, he realized that Qiongqi didn't have high compatibility with the other companion beasts. Just as Zhou was about to decide to throw it away, he thought of the fiend-armored tiger soul general he had summoned and matched it again. The compatibility of 93% left Zhou somewhat surprised. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. The compatibility between these two fellows is really astonishing. Zhou thought for a moment and felt that it wasn't easy for a mythical Qiongqi to drop. It was another top mythical creature with the ability to evolve. It would be a pity to throw it away. I don't think Jinx's master is of much use to me. Why don't I try fusing it? Perhaps there will be a good outcome after these two flawed companion beasts fuse? Even if it doesn't become better, it can't be that bad. Zhou placed the fiend-armored tiger soul general and Qiongqi companion egg on it and chose to fuse them. The 93% compatibility wasn't fake. As a supplementary ingredient, Qiongqi companion egg transformed into a stream of light and entered the fiend-armored tiger soul general's body. Soon, the fusion was completed. The fiend-armored tiger soul general that had successfully fused didn't seem to have changed much. However, the tiger beneath the tiger soul general looked a little like Qiongqi. Zhou hurriedly looked at its stats and thought, if only I can wipe out Jinx's master. Fiend-armored tiger soul general, mythical, evolvable, life providence, fiendish fiend life soul, tiger soul runes wheel of destiny, fiendish strength, 81 speed, 81 constitution, 81 essence energy, 81 innate skills. Tempered steel furnace, rampage, magic stone curse, one with mount, armor-piercing spear, wicked deeds, badlands, Jinx's master. Companion form, none. After seeing the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's stats, Zhou was dumbfounded. Its stats could be considered supreme grade. There was basically no way to make it stronger. This was the first time Zhou had seen a companion beast with 8 skills. Furthermore, there was a possibility of it improving further in the future. Perhaps it could transform into a terror form. Zhou could accept that Jinx's master was still around, but what the hell was that Barren Hills skill? It had actually fused with the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General. Jinx's master and the barren mountains and rivers. I'm afraid that I won't be able to kill him with a single strike. I'm afraid that I'll execute him by dismembering him. Zhou already had the urge to destroy the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General. However, on second thought, Zhou held back. After all, Jinx's master likely included poverty. It didn't matter if there were more barren lands. In the past, Jinx's master didn't work on him. There was no reason that another barren mountain and unruly river could do anything to him. I'll observe first. If I really can't hold on, I have to think of a way to destroy it as soon as possible. Although Zhou had this thought, he quickly unsummoned the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General and decided to try his best not to let it out. At the same time, Zhou summoned his baby tiger and got it to follow by his side to add some luck to him. After doing all of this, Zhou felt a lot more relaxed. As he carefully continued on his way, Zhou focused. Thankfully, nothing unlucky happened, allowing him to heave a sigh of relief. Glimmer's evolution was much more difficult than fine dust. After walking for so long, Zhou realized that although Glimmer was growing, its growth was very slow. If this continued, he didn't know how many places he would have to walk to advance Glimmer to a perfect body. The path Zhou took was one that humans were still using, so he didn't encounter too much danger. On this day, Zhou rode the great Might Vajra bull and walked on a winding mountain road. At night, he failed to walk out of the mountainous area. There were still mountains in front of him. The winding mountain road was winding like a snake coiling around the mountain. As Zhou walked, he suddenly saw many trucks parked on the road in front of him. It looked like a convoy, but he didn't know why they were parked here. Typically, a convoy would stop at a fixed service area. It was impossible for them to stop on a winding mountain road in the middle of the night. Behind the convoy, there were many guards in military uniforms. When they saw the great Might Vajra bull, they jumped in fright. Immediately, many soldiers ran over from the front. Many soldiers raised their guns and aimed at the great Might Vajra bull. However, when they saw Zhou sitting on the great Might Vajra bull's back, they heaved a sigh of relief. However, they didn't let down their guard. Dozens of guns were still aimed at Zhou and the great Might Vajra bull. "We are the Federation's transport team. Who are you?" A person who looked like an officer shouted at Zhou from afar. "I'm a student of Sunset College. I'm preparing to rush back to Luoyang." What happened here? Zhou didn't rush over rashly. He got the great Might Vajra bull to stop and ask the other party. For some reason, a large portion of the winding mountain road ahead has collapsed. Our cars can't drive over. We're trying to think of a solution. If you don't have the ability to fly, I'm afraid we can only change our route, the officer said. I have some ability to fly, but I can't fly too far. Can you let me go over to take a look? Zhou said. The officer discussed with the person beside him for a while before saying to Zhou, "All right, you can come over, but put away your companion beasts first." Zhou put away the great Might Vajra bull and walked over with Yer in his arms. It's already very dangerous for a student like you to walk the mountain roads at night. Why are you carrying a child? The officer said as he looked at Yer in Zhou's arms. Perhaps it was because of a little girl like Yer that they were willing to let Zhou approach the convoy. The world isn't good. Her parents are gone, so I can only bring her to school, Zhouwen said. The soldiers revealed looks of pity as the atmosphere eased up. This world. Sigh. The officer sighed and led Zhouwen forward. Indeed, a large portion of the mountain road ahead had collapsed. It was estimated that hundreds of meters of the mountain road had collapsed. The epic experts in the transport team were using flying pets to slowly transport the goods and cars over. However, as there were only 3 flying pets working, the amount of goods that could be transported at once was very limited, so progress was very slow. Zhouwen looked at the broken mountain road and couldn't help but frown. The mountain road had almost completely collapsed. Even the mountain wall had collapsed potholes. Zhouwen looked at it for a while and felt that the mountain wall didn't look like it had collapsed naturally, nor did it look like it had been smashed by a heavy object. It looked more like something had bitten it. The trees didn't grow too tall either. After scanning for a while, Zhouwen imagined that he wouldn't find anything, but a creature suddenly swam over from the forest. The creature looked like a centipede. It was huge, and its body was probably the size of a bucket. Its upper body had a human chest, legs, and head. It looked extremely strange. It moved through the forest and was about to reach the broken mountain path. What dimensional creature is this? Was the mountain path destroyed by it? Zhouwen didn't have time to think as he said to the soldiers, "There seem to be dimensional creatures in the forest below. Quickly get people to leave the fracture. Don't get too close." The soldier was taken aback. He looked down and didn't see anything. He used the walkie-talkie to pass Zhouwen's words to the officer opposite him. The officer hurriedly got someone to carefully observe the situation below. While they were still observing, they saw the monster with a human body and a centipede tail crawl out along the mountain wall. "There's a dimensional creature. Prepare to fire." The officer immediately gave the order to fire. Essence gold bullets rained down on the dimensional creature's body. The hard bullets seemed to have shot into rubber and were stuck in its body. The scary thing was that the bullets quickly melted into its body, as if they were absorbed by its body. Seeing that the essence gold bullets didn't have any effect, the epic officer ordered a giant eagle companion beast to attack the monster with a claw beam. The monster looked up and glanced at the giant eagle. Its eyes shot out a blood-red beam. When the giant eagle's body was touched by the beam, it immediately fell from the sky. While its body was still in midair, it had already melted into a pool of blood. The officer was alarmed. Their transport team had 2 epic creatures. In total, they had 5 epic companion beasts. With such strength, they could deal with ordinary emergencies if they didn't encounter mythical creatures. Now, an epic thunder eagle had been killed in a single exchange. This kind of strength seemed to have surpassed the epic rank. "Retreat, retreat." The officer gave the order, but it was too late. Before the soldiers could board the vehicles, the monster had already climbed up the mountain wall. Its eyes suffused a red glow as the beam of light shot out landed on a truck, melting it. Everyone's hearts were shrouded in a shadow. Having encountered such a terrifying dimensional creature, it was likely that they would be doomed. "Retreat, retreat immediately. Captain Yen and I will provide cover. Everyone else, retreat immediately. Ignore the goods. Retreat immediately." As the officer roared, he summoned his companion beasts to hold back the monster and cover the retreat of the others. The monster's body, which was dozens of meters long, climbed up the mountain wall as it let out a strange roar. Its glowing red eyes shot a red beam at the officer. However, he scanned the forest again and found nothing else. With a thought, Zhouwen put on the invisibility cloak and wrapped Yer in it before heading in the direction the centipede monster had come from. The forest was dense and gloomy under the moonlight. Zhouwen didn't enter the forest, afraid that something would happen. He directly flew over the forest. With the invisibility cloak on him and the earth elemental beast ready to fight at any moment, Zhou Wen's escape ability was already at its peak. Coupled with Truth Listener's ability, he could escape even if he couldn't beat him. He didn't discover anything along the way. Thankfully, the smell emitted by the centipede monster was still there. Zhou Wen followed the smell and turned around a mountain before discovering something. There was a small mountain over there. The mountain was less than 300 meters tall, but it was rather steep. On the top of the mountain, there was a building that resembled an earth temple. There's actually an earth temple in such a place? Zhou Wen was somewhat surprised. He observed the mountain and didn't find any stone steps leading up. Strange, there's no stone step. How did the ancients build it? Zhou Wen carefully sized up the earth temple and realized that incense was emitting from it. There was a wooden plaque hanging above the entrance of the small temple. On the wooden plaque were the words, Mountain God Temple. So it's not an earth temple, but a mountain god temple. Zhou Wen frowned slightly. If it was an earth temple, he didn't have to worry too much. This was because the earth temples in the East District were similar in nature. Typically, there wouldn't be much danger. He might even be able to obtain some benefit. However, mountain god temples were different. Mountain god temples were divided into orthodox and evil god. The mountain god temples of orthodox gods were about the same as earth temples. They weren't that dangerous. However, it was hard to say for an evil god's mountain god temple. Some so-called mountain gods were actually demons that had turned into spirits in the mountains. There were good and bad demons, and their personalities were completely different. Because of their magical abilities, humans would worship them as mountain gods. However, these mountain gods might not protect humans. There were even many mountain gods who worshipped them because they slaughtered humans wantonly, making humans afraid. Although the mountain god temple on the hill wasn't considered big, it was built rather exquisitely. It was made of pure wood and incense smoke wafted out from it. As there were only the words, Mountain God Temple, Zhou Wen didn't know what the mountain god inside looked like. That centipede monster should have come from the mountain god temple. From the looks of it, the mountain god here is most likely an evil god. The collapsed mountain path probably has something to do with this mountain god, Zhou Wen thought to himself. By focusing Truth Listener's power on the mountain god temple, Zhou Wen wanted to know what was being consecrated in the mountain god temple. As a mysterious force enveloped the mountain god temple, he couldn't hear the situation inside. Now that Truth Listener was doing its best, the scene inside the mountain god temple gradually surfaced in Zhou Wen's mind. The interior of the temple was simple. On an offering table was something consecrated. In front of the thing was a cigarette with incense inserted in it. There were candles lit on both sides. It was unknown who had offered the incense and lit the candles. When Zhou Wen saw what was being consecrated in the temple, his expression turned odd. It's indeed a mountain god temple of an evil god. I've seen consecrated snake immortal, fox immortal, and yellow immortal. This is the first time I've seen one consecrated to a toad. Zhou Wen looked at the mountain god temple and couldn't help but be curious. The one consecrated in the mountain god temple looked like a toad. The fat statue was sprawled on the table with its eyes closed, as though it was enjoying itself. Its entire body looked like it was made of bronze. There were many spots on its body, making it look ugly and ugly. If it were Zhou Wen, he definitely wouldn't consecrate such a mountain god. However, after taking a closer look, Zhou Wen felt that something was amiss. It looked like a toad as it lay there, but upon closer inspection, it was different from a toad. Just as Zhou Wen was carefully observing it, he saw it widen its eyes and look at him. Sogu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.